Everybody wants to ride into conference play on a high note, but sometimes that's easier said than done. Entering their non-conference finale, Fordham has lost their last 4 games. And the road doesn't get any easier, with UVA waiting to host the Rams on their home turf. Fordham will do battle with an ACC opponent for the second time this season, traveling down to Charlottesville to take on the University of Virginia. Featuring a dynamic front court pairing of Cameron Taylor and Sam Brunell, and one of the best freshman guards in college basketball in Kimora Johnson, UVA is a force to be reckoned with. But if Fordham can withstand this imposing threat, it would be a confidence boost for the ages heading into A10 play. It's Fordham and UVA, a Christmas break duel against a Power 5, and it's live on WFUV Sports.
Well, can you believe it? It's the last non-conference game of the regular season. Fordham Rams traveling down south to take on the University of Virginia Cavaliers. What's up, everybody? Lou Orlando and Julia Moss bringing you Fordham women's basketball on WFUV Sports. Thank you for spending part of your Christmas break as we get set for one of the most anticipated games of the season, Fordham versus UVA, second matchup against an ACC opponent. You take a look at these Fordham Rams. They've been progressing well, playing high-quality basketball. Hasn't really translated to the win column. 4 straight losses. You look at the last 3, they come down to 1 possession, but either way, 5-6, under 500 for the first time this season.
I mean, look, yeah, we're talking about a team that has lost 4 straight games, but I do want to focus on those last 3, those 1-possession losses, because we think about the beginning of this season. When they got behind in a game, it was very difficult for them to catch up and make it a game. We're seeing progress in those losses. Right now, it's about making those small losses into, forcing it into overtime or even winning those games. It's about the road to get there, and right now, Fordham is just in that phase where they're trying to figure out how to get above those teams, but it is still progress that they're in these games at this point in the season.
It's the last game of the non-conference portion of the season. Then we get into A10 play, and you always want to take momentum into that, but it's going to take a mighty effort for Fordham to not take a 5-game losing streak into A10 play. We'll get you all set for this matchup between Fordham and 7-3 UVA. But before we do that, Julia and I talked to head coach Bridgette Mitchell prior to this game. Have a listen.
Lou Orlando, Julia Moss, you're at Fordham women's basketball head coach Bridgette Mitchell. Coach, you go from playing 2-3 games a week till now 10 days off. How do you keep the girls sharp and ready for this game?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to get rest, right? So we had last day of class when we hit the road, right? That whole week we missed, and then they were in finals. And so, for academically, Fordham is elite. And so giving them some time, so they had a few days to do what they needed to. More than a few days. We gave them 3. So that they can come back fresh, right, in a new perspective. Then we cleaned up some of our offensive and defensive concepts that we are trying to execute. So we spent the time away from actually having games doing those types of things.
And then tonight, Virginia, a very disciplined athletic team, ranking up there with the best in different, rebounding categories, free throw percentage categories. What is it going to take tonight for Fordham to combat the talent that Virginia has?
Yeah, they're averaging, about 19 offensive rebounds a game, right? So it's going to be huge for us if we can cut those in half, right? If we could cut their offensive rebounds in half by boxing out, and taking pride in our girl not getting the rebound, we'll be within reach of this ball game. If we allow them to do the things that they want to do, it'll be a struggle for us. But I'm confident with the time that we've had off, the scouting and preparation that we've done, I feel really good about our ability to go out there and execute the game plan.
When you look at the last 3 games, I know they don't go your way, but they're tight games, 1-possession games. Are you seeing growth? Are you seeing progress in those tight 1-possession losses?
Definitely. I think that, our team is, grad students, right? Some players have played at their previous schools, some did not. Some of the players that even returned to us didn't even play last year, right? And so for them to be in those moments and in close games like that is complete growth, right? Now we're to the point where we want to be able to come out with a win on those games, but we worked to get to that point. So there's growth in that because that was something that they never thought that they would be able to do prior to being in that situation. So we're definitely growing as a team with all of these non-conference games, and I'm excited for the future for our team.
We talk about how dominant Virginia can be, but surprisingly enough, lost to 230 net-ranked Wofford just in their last time out. Watching that game, what did you see that they did against Virginia that was particularly well, and are you going to incorporate any of that tonight?
Yeah, Wofford's a team that can shoot threes, right? We're going to continue shooting our threes. Hopefully they're falling tonight. But then also they do a lot of action off the ball. A number of our sets have play off of the ball, not requiring a ball screen. We end with the ball screen, but a lot of it's that movement. So we're going to continue to move and get them, our hope is to get them lost on the defensive end. And so we have wide open opportunities. And then also a big thing that Wofford did was able to get them to foul trouble, right? In terms of their jumping, they're using their athleticism they want to. So we're going to try to combat that by being a little bit more deceptive.
Coach, thanks a lot. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Just a few minutes away from action here at the John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we've got some starting lineups for you. Let's start with Virginia. At point, the freshman Kimora Johnson, Paris Clark, Alexia Smith, and then that forward combo of Sam Brunell and Cameron Taylor. And that's the one I want to jump right off and highlight. Brunell and Taylor, two of the best forwards in the ACC, a dynamic scoring combo and one that really should give Fordham fits today.
Look, Virginia is going to get their points in the paint, and it's for a few reasons. One, because they have two premier forwards in their starting lineup with Cameron Taylor and Sam Brunell. Sam Brunell, second year in a row, nominated for the best power forward and are on the watch list for the best power forward in the country. But the other reason why they get their points in the paint, it is because they are horrible from beyond the arc. There are 348 teams in Division I NCAA women's basketball. Cavaliers, 314. So it's a good thing they have that premier talent and that duo in the paint, because when we start talking about their backcourt, it gets a little more hazy, a little more shady as far as production goes. This is a very deep team, but definitely led by those two power forwards.
You look at this Virginia team, you mentioned the three-point shooting. That's certainly been a weakness. 25.1% from beyond the arc. That's dead last in the ACC. And even field goal percentage, not super efficient, 14th out of 15th in the ACC. But they're an athletic team. They crash the boards well, top 5 in the nation, and rebounding top 3 in offensive rebounds. So a very talented team, a very tall team. And you also look at really strong balance between the veterans and Brunell and Taylor and some of the younger guards on this team. Amaka Aguga-Hamilton has come in her second year has really revitalized this team. They had 5 wins the previous 2 seasons combined before her arrival. They went 15-15 in her inaugural season and off to a 7-3 start. And you look at some of the young talent that she's brought in, the one that stands out, it's Kimora Johnson. Came in number 24 overall prospect, a 5-star prospect, and she's taken over point guard duties, averaging 5.3 assists. There's some electric young talent on this Virginia team.
It's exactly what makes this Virginia squad so deep, is that they have such a good recruiting class coming in, and we were talking about it before the broadcast. This is just a difference between mid-major schools and Power 5 conferences, is that you're going to have to deal with those freshmen who are choosing to go to those bigger schools, and Virginia is the perfect embodiment of that.
Virginia bringing in the number 13th recruiting class in the nation this season. You get Paris Clark, a transfer from Arizona, so plenty of young talent coming over to this Virginia team, plenty of depth. This is a Virginia team that, coming off a loss to Wofford, a surprising loss. Wofford 230 in the net rankings, but they beat Virginia 71-70. A last-second shot from Rachel Rhodes, winning with 0.4 seconds left. Virginia's only other 2 losses came to number 25 Oklahoma and a 3-point loss to number 7 LSU. So go figure. You have to think this is a Virginia team that's hungry, probably wants to get back in the win column.
It depends on how you look at this from Fordham's perspective. You can either look at it positively and be like, all right, they're a
Maybe
human.
I'll be more optimistic moving.
Exactly, like we have a chance tonight. Or you could look at it from Virginia's point of view. This could be a get-right game for Virginia, which would not be in the favor of Fordham whatsoever, but could go either way. We're about to find out here.
The starting 5 for Fordham: Amy Hayford, Taylor Donaldson, Matilda Flood, Rose Nelson, Miranda Nyborg. Same starting 5 as their December 10th game, and I think the big thing you notice is, hey, no point guard there, no Taya Davis, no Mandy McGurk, but this might be their best starting 5.
And it's so funny because at the beginning of the year, we talked so much about, is it going to be Mandy McGurk, is it going to be Taya Davis? Well, it's looking like it's going to shape up to be neither of them, with Amy Hayford being the primary person running the point with Taylor Donaldson out at the shooting guard. It worked against Fairfield. We'll see if it works tonight.
We're set for the tip here between Nyborg and Cameron Taylor. It's won by Taylor ahead to Brunell, throws it into the paint, swatted back by Hayford into the hands of Rose Nelson. Early turnover forced by Fordham. Hayford, top of the key, drives the right lane, stops at the block, but called for a travel on the hop set. So a 1 turnover for each side to start this ball game. 9:49 left in the first quarter. Virginia in white, blue striping along the sides. Fordham in all maroon. Johnson, top of the key, swings left. Smith moves over, top of the key. Brunell, right wing, takes the 2, rolls out. Rebound corralled by Miranda Nyborg. The Ahead to Rose Nelson. No pressure from Virginia. They drop back into the hands of Hayford, top of the key. 9:25, swings near corner from Matilda Flood. Back right wing Donaldson, bounces top of the key. Hayford dribbles left to the left wing. Into the paint, Nyborg guarded by Brunel. Kicks out far corner, Nelson drives into the paint, backing away down. Nyborg free throw line on the kick out pass. Hands off Donaldson, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Donaldson heaves it up and airballs. Strong half-court defense by Virginia in that possession. We await the call.
Seems to be confusion on both sides here. Referees calling it a jump ball, it seems now. Possession arrow to Fordham, so they'll keep possession here.
Donaldson had the ball on the right wing, some tight defense there, and jump ball ultimately going Fordham's favor. If that doesn't happen, the air ball will be going Virginia's way. Baseline inbound, Hayford. Throws it left side for Donaldson. It's tapped out of bounds by Smith. Virginia thought it was their ball, and it will be, but say out of bounds off of Donaldson. 9:05 left in the first quarter, still no score.
You have 1.3 seconds on the inbound. It's hard to make something of it. Fordham wasn't able to there.
Freshman Johnson, right wing, picks up her dribble, swings left Brunel into the paint. Cameron Taylor backs her way down, now kicks out near corner. Paris Clark drives in with the left, goes up and rolls in. Virginia up 2-0 early. Paris Clark the basket, 2-0 lead for Virginia, 8:40 left in the first quarter. Hayford controls, pressured by Smith on the right side. Top of the key, Nyborg. Hand off Hayford, top of the key. Over to the left wing. Swings right, Rose Nelson. Behind the arc on the right side, we've got an off-ball foul. Looks to be against Matilda Flood. 3 seconds on Fordham is the referee call. Another early turnover for Fordham.
Seemed like a hot start for Fordham, forcing the early turnover. Just not able to convert on the offensive end so far.
8:24 left in the first quarter. An early 2-0 lead for Virginia. Johnson up top, right wing now Clark. Moves over top of the key, back to Johnson, left wing. Drives down to the elbow, now right wing for Clark. Dribbles to the left elbow, into the paint, kicks out Johnson, the left wing three is good. Virginia, 5-0 lead, and no three-point struggles on that shot. Rose Nelson, top of the key. Fordham down 5-0 early here. Hand off Donaldson, free throw line jumper, off left iron, offensive rebound by Hayford, spins her way down to the paint, now kicks out Nyborg left wing. Resets for Flood. Flood, the right hand drive, goes up off glass, too strong, the rebound by Smith. Flood swats it away, now into the hands of Hayford. Fordham moving quickly into the offensive zone. Hayford controls left wing. Top of the key, Nelson. Swings right, Flood. Flood, the right wing three is short. Rebound nearly corralled by Nelson, but she'll draw the over-the-back foul on Cameron Taylor.
Beginning of that offensive transition on the opposite side of that turnover, I don't know if I like the decision by Amy Hayford to bring it back out. She had one-on-one opportunity there, and usually she'll take that as a chance to be aggressive and go for the layup. Brings it back out, Fordham able to draw the foul.
Matilda Flood had forced an early steal. Fordham decided to slow things down. Taya Davis checks in. Davis, the baseline inbound, lobs for Nyborg in the left corner. Back up top, Amy Hayford into the paint. Nyborg swatted away by Brunel. Recovered by Hayford up top. Drives into the paint, left side, kicks out Donaldson. Back into the near corner, Amy Hayford, the three, bounces out. Rebound secured by Jillian Brown. Brown pushing in transition, the right-handed drive. Into the paint, left block for Paris Clark. Pump fake, goes up with the right, off glass and in. 7-0 lead for Virginia, 7 minutes to play in the first. Hayford right side, back up top, Taya Davis. Now into the hands of Flood, swings for Donaldson, drives to the free throw line, kicks right wing Hayford. Hayford drives the free throw line, swings out right wing three, Taylor Donaldson is short. Rebound secured by Paris Clark, no points yet for Fordham. And now early pressure from Amy Hayford trips up Paris Clark, another foul going Fordham's way.
Seeing a lot of hints from that Miami game. You know, Virginia, very good team, but Fordham still able to force turnovers, but they just haven't been able to make Virginia pay by way of scoring off of those turnovers so far.
A 7-0 lead for Virginia, 6:40 left in the first quarter. Johnson hands off for Clark, top of the key, off a screen from Taylor, right elbow, kicks to the far corner. Johnson, the three, is good. 10-0 lead for Virginia, a 10-0 start for the Cavaliers. Taya Davis controls. Fordham already trailing double digits. The second three today for Kimora Johnson. Davis gets the handoff from Flood, left wing. Slowing things down. 14 seconds on the shot clock. Davis crossover, kicks out Nelson, left wing. She drives the lane, goes up with the right and can't get it to roll in. Fordham still scoreless to start. Brown pushing, now swings left for Clark. Clark will slow things down, swings it into the paint for Taylor, goes up with contact and gets it to go. Cameron Taylor, a beast in the paint, and she'll send herself to the free throw line. Virginia already up 12-0.
Nightmare start for Fordham here so far, down 12-0 early in the first quarter, and it hasn't even been because of poor defensive play. It's just been unlucky layups, just contested layups that just have gone in and out of the rim so far in this game.
5:55 left in the first quarter. Virginia up to a 12-0 lead. Taylor gets the free throw to roll in. Second in the ACC with a 92 free throw percentage. That's 9th in the nation. And Coach Bridgette Mitchell will call a timeout with 5:55 left in this one. Fordham trailing 13-0, off to a horrific start.
I mean, listen, offense has been the struggle this whole season. I've always said the defense is there, the offense is getting there. Well, the offense hasn't even left the starting line yet. They're at 0 points here. So it's just a matter of getting that first bucket, getting the lid off the basket and seeing what you can do there, because they haven't looked bad on the court. It's just a shot selection, not being able to convert when you get a little bit of contact, because Virginia hasn't necessarily even played super intense on the defensive end. It's just those layups that haven't gone in, those jump shots that maybe were a little bit ill-advised. I just want to see Fordham be a little bit more aggressive and start converting just a little bit more.
So you look at Fordham defensively coming in, the top steals defense in the A10, forcing over 20 turnovers per game. They've already forced 3 turnovers, so defensively hasn't been that bad, but interesting thing we talked about Coach Mithel with off air was, hey, Virginia's a bad three-point shooting team. How exactly do you navigate that? And she said one of our main goals is we want them to shoot contested threes, but so far it's been open threes. And you look at Kimora Johnson, the freshman, coming in, shooting 19% from the line. She's already nailed 2, and I think the common denominator is both of those looks were open threes.
I was just about to mention that too. Kimora Johnson, who's been horrific from three-point land this whole season long, and as a guard, she definitely shoots a 3 quite a bit. But if she's hitting that 2 for 3, that's just not something you expect from this Virginia team, and it's probably not something that's sustainable either. Starting out 2 for 3, Virginia is, they're just not, I don't think this is something that's going to be a common denominator throughout the rest of the game, but it's definitely a note for Fordham to say, hey, we have to be at least a little bit more tenacious when they have those open 3 looks.
Think back to that Miami game. Fordham was able to pull within 4 in the first quarter, but things quickly got away from them. You end up going down 31 midway through the second quarter, and I think a smart timeout by Mitchell, because you're in danger of going down big again, already down 13-0. It's been a strong run for Virginia to open up, and again, what we talk about when you go up against these Power 5 teams, these ACC teams, better athleticism, better depth, and so far I think you're seeing that strong side inside is making those inside looks tough for Fordham. They've gotten inside, they've gotten to the block, but haven't been able to convert. There's been strong perimeter or strong rim defense there, and then moving the other way, you see the strength from them within the paint and then getting a couple shots as well.
Right, I mean, we talked about it coming into this matchup, that it's like looking in a mirror in a sense for these two teams. Their strengths are generally the same. Their weaknesses are definitely the same when we talk about shooting. But if Fordham can't balance that out, if they can't balance the strengths out a little bit, Virginia is going to run away with this incredibly quickly. Already up 13-0, shooting 5 for 6 from the field. And you talk about Coach Bridgette Mitchell taking a smart timeout. Well, when you start out 0 for 6, I think it's pretty sure it's time for a timeout.
Think back to that Miami game. Fordham really struggled to have half-court sets. Were able to get a couple threes from Taylor Donaldson, and she ends up leading the offensive effort with 13 points. But I think one of the biggest eye-opening things in that game was they really struggled to move the ball in the half-court set against a smothering Miami defense. Virginia is strong inside defense, not as strong in the perimeter, so you hope that they can get some looks. They've gotten some nice looks from beyond the arc, just haven't been able to make them. Action resumes here from the John Ball Jones Arena. Davis top of the key, 5:45 left in the first quarter. Swings left, Hayford. Left elbow for Rose Nelson. Back to the basket, kicks right. Taya Davis drives into the paint, has it go off her foot and out of bounds. Another turnover for the Fordham Rams, and once again, Virginia ball.
And that's been a season consistency so far for Taya Davis. She's so good at finding the open player for a jump shot, but the negative part of that, she turns the ball over quite a bit.
Averaging an A10 leading 4.1 turnovers per game. Up top for Brown. Guarded by Davis, swings left Johnson. Johnson top the key, right for Brown. Brown dribbles to the free throw line, now Taylor. Taylor on the left side, drives with the left, goes up and is smothered. Hacked it on her way to the cup. Takes a lot of contact, she's going back to the line.
And this is something unique with Virginia, but when you foul, it is not necessarily making them earn it from the stripe. It's dang near automatic for this team. They rank up there 5th, top 5 in free throw percentage. There's several players on this team who are shooting just absolutely incredible from the charity stripe this season.
Cameron Taylor at the forefront of that, 92% shooting coming into this one. As the crowd quiets for the first free throw. And that one rolls out, just the 5th free throw missed this season for Cameron Taylor. 9th in D1 basketball in free throw percentage. 0 for 1 on this trip so far. On the second shot, buries it. Virginia ahead 14-0, 5:16 left in the first. Davis, lead pass ahead to McGurk. Fresley checked in, now into the far corner. Donaldson dribbles left to the free throw line. Back up top, Davis. Davis drives right, double teamed, has it swiped away. Another turnover for Taya Davis. Brown moving in transition, goes up with the right, too strong. Rebound secured by Fordham. Matilda Flood comes away with it and draws some contact. That'll be a foul against Cameron Taylor, already her 2nd of the game. And with that, Cameron Taylor will check out. Sam Brunell comes back in. She's joined by London Clarkson in the front court.
And that's one of the things that Fordham can do to benefit themselves, is to get Virginia into foul trouble, make them play a little more less aggressive.
That's something that Wofford did in their win over Virginia. Rose Nelson, left elbow. Back to the right wing, Taya Davis. Davis drives down to the free throw line, hesitates, drives to the left, but called for the carry. 3 possessions, 3 turnovers for Taya Davis.
And we talk about how they began the game without Mandy McGurk or Taya Davis. Well, it's clear positions are kind of meaningless for Fordham because they're playing with Mandy McGurk and Taya Davis on the court right now.
It's been a tough sequence for Taya Davis. Bumps Kimora Johnson. That will be a flat foul on the floor against Davis. Far side inbound for Virginia. Back into the hands of Johnson. 4:34 left in the first quarter. Top of the key, Brunell takes the 3. It's good. Virginia's perfect from 3 so far and a 17-0 lead. Brunell has been the bright spot so far for them from beyond the arc, shooting 40%. She converts there. McGurk, right wing, drives down to the right elbow. Lob for Rose Nelson over her head. Throw sails out of bounds. Another turnover for Fordham and still scoreless in this first quarter.
And Fordham has been trying to make the pick and roll work for the past few games, and that timing just isn't there yet, and that's something that you're going to see with a team that's still trying to figure out how to play with one another when they're on the court.
Taya Davis will check out. It's Virginia with ball, already up 17-0. The freshman Olivia McGee bounces into the paint for Clarkson. Clarkson back to the basket, tries to go up with the left. Can't get it to go, but called for the foul is Miranda Nyborg. They'll say too much contact there. Head coach Bridgette Mitchell doesn't like the call, and I think you could make the case Clarkson's feet went out from under her before contact was made by Nyborg.
She leaned forward a little bit and started going away from the basket. I think from the ref's perspective, thought that maybe that was because of Miranda Nyborg's contact, but from our vantage point, it really seemed like it was just a matter of her tripping over her own feet.
2 free throws for Clarkson, short on the first. 17-0 lead for Virginia. 3:58 left in the first quarter. Second free throw from Clarkson is good. 18-0 lead for Virginia. McGurk will take it up. Over to Rose Nelson, swings left, Matilda Flood, left wing. Guarded by McGee, off a screen from Nyborg. Flood, the left wing 3, rolls out, O-board by Rose Nelson, kicks out right wing Donaldson. Donaldson to the right elbow, the floater is short. An offensive rebound by Matilda Flood. And another foul going against Virginia in that rebounding area. We know Virginia, a tenacious rebounding team, but that time too much contact against Flood.
And when you're looking at a list of what Fordham needs to do to win this game, they're doing just about all of it except for scoring. They've gotten several offensive rebounds so far.
Far corner 3, Taylor Donaldson is short. Nyborg the O-board. Resets, left wing 3, McGurk is good. Fordham's on the board, trailing 18-3. 3:30 left in the first quarter. McGee right wing, guarded by Donaldson, into the near corner for Brown. Back up top, McGee swings left, Brunell. Guarded closely by Flood, hands off McGee. Now out to Alexia Smith, 13 seconds left on the shot clock. She's got a screen either side, dribbles right, now resets top of the key. Clarkson drives the left lane, kicks out far corner. The three from McGee is strong. The O-board nearly secured by Virginia, but Clarkson can't come up with it. Out of bounds off her touch. Strong defensive possession there for Fordham.
For the first time this game, they have the chance to get a bit of a run going, albeit it would only be 2 or 3 more points. But, you know, you're looking at 18-3. Kind of unbelievable that they haven't scored up until this point, until that last possession, but now they have the chance to get the lid off the basket and get some offensive momentum going.
Offensive rebounds have created some chances for Fordham, already 5 today. It's Rose Nelson inside, but called for the travel as she tried for a nice little post move, and now we've got London Clarkson keeled over, covering her nose, and she's already got a face mask on, suffering a nose injury earlier in the year, but this will be Virginia ball after the turnover. Alexia Smith to control, 2:50 left in the first quarter, guarded by McGurk. Right for Lawson, near corner, Olivia McGee, the three is good. Another three for Virginia, up 21-3, 2:50 left. McGurk right wing, far corner Rose Nelson, 2:30 and ticking. Nelson lobs for McGurk, but stolen away by Alexia Smith. Virginia moves in transition. Right wing McGee, she'll take the three again, this time off left iron. The rebound by Flood. Fordham trails by 18. Flood splits defenders, goes up with the right hand, and gets it to go off glass.
Minnesota Flood has had a couple of bad shooting performances, but that's such a confidence builder to go coast to coast. Easy layup converting Fordham's 4th and 5th point right there.
Virginia leads 21-5 as the clock ticks under 2 minutes in our first quarter. A nice move in transition by Flood. McGee tried to bounce to the paint, but a kick by Taylor Donaldson will keep it here. 1:57 left in the first quarter. Baseline inbound for Alexia Smith, the senior. Finds Brunel in the far short corner. Lobs for Lawson. Left block. Goes up with contact. Gets it to go. No foul. But Virginia ahead 23-5. McGurk on the far side. Top of the key. Kayla Berry checked in. Swings left for Rose Nelson. Nelson to the free throw line. Throws it down low for Nyborg. Spins around with the left hand. Too short. 1:30 left in this first quarter. Kayla Harris set to check in at the next stoppage. Alexia Smith, right wing, off a screen from Clarkson. Right elbow, top of the key, Brunel, the three. Bounces out, rebound by McGurk. Minute 15 left in the first quarter. McGurk will push it. Lob short corner for Taylor Donaldson. Under the basket, kicks out right wing. Rose Nelson swings left McGurk. Left elbow for Nyborg, hands off McGurk, free throw line, jumper off the backboard and in. 23-7, Virginia leads, 58 seconds and ticking.
Fordham has done a really nice job so far with the off-ball movement, finding open players. That's something they've struggled with earlier in this season, really fixing it up here. 5
points from McGurk in this first quarter. Top of the key, Brunel into the paint. Clarkson spins around with the left. Can't get it to go, but draws another foul on Miranda Nyborg. And she'll be going back to the line. Second foul today for Nyborg.
Second foul for Nyborg, and also the second foul that I think is a little bit ticky-tacky. I mean, she had her hands straight up, drawing the contact. Apparently too much for the ref's liking.
Kayla Harris will check in for Miranda Nyborg. And Kayla Harris has been out since that Manhattan game. Go back to November 16th, missed a full month. She returns to action here. First free throw from Clarkson is good. Virginia lead extended to 24-7 with 43 seconds left. Here's the second from Clarkson. It's good. Perfect trip from the line. Pressure now from Virginia. They get it into the hands of McGurk. McGurk near side. 40 seconds left. 25 on the shot clock. Nelson top of the key. Right wing for Donaldson. Gets a screen from Harris. Drives right. Down to the right block. Fade away. Two is no good. An air ball. Kayla Harris gets her hands on it. And looks like got into a battle there with London Clarkson. And they'll call the foul on Dylan Lawson, who was in to help.
That was really good awareness by Kayla Harris there, because that shot by Taylor Donaldson looked a little weird, didn't hit backboard, but Kayla Harris having her head on a swivel there, able to secure it there and draw the foul.
Taya Davis checks in for Taylor Donaldson. 26.9 seconds left in the first quarter, 20 on the shot clock. Davis lobs left wing for Barry, stolen away by McGee. McGee in transition goes up with the right, easy lay. Virginia ahead 27-7, a 20-point lead. Ill-advised pass by Kayla Barry. Shot clock is off. Davis controls at the point. 10 seconds and taking. She dribbles right, drives the right lane. Down to the right block, tries to get into the hands of Harris. She does. Harris throws up a shot, can't get it to go. Final second on the first quarter. Half-court heave by Alexia Smith is short. But that won't matter. It's a 20-point lead for Virginia after 1 quarter of play. They lead 27-7, Julia.
I mean, horrific. Couldn't have written it any worse for Fordham here. And we find them, every time they get down to a deficit, they're heaving up threes that they just can't hit. It's every single time that we see them get down, and we saw it in Miami, we saw it in Maine. They're 1 for 6 so far on threes, 6 of their 15 shots from on the arc. It just isn't working at this point in the season, so opting for that instead of higher quality looks under the basket is just not how you're going to win this game. You have to opt for those, albeit with contact. You have to drive in and try and get buckets that way because they're not hitting it from 3 today.
We're through 1 quarter. Virginia 27, Fordham 7, and with that, let's send it back to the Rose Hill Studios. Merrick Rhodes has your one-on-one scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Taking a look at the scores from around the A-10, earlier today, Rhode Island took on Lemoyne at home, walking away with the 97-53 win. Sophie Phillips contributed 21 points for the Rams. In D.C., the Revolutionaries of George Washington defeated Stonehill by a score of 67-34. Essence Brown led GW in scoring with 25 points. Duquesne fell earlier today in the Tulane Holiday Classic in New Orleans to Little Rock, 63-52. It was the Trojans' first win of the season. In a Big Five matchup down in Philadelphia, the Wildcats of Villanova defeated the LaSalle Explorers in Tom Gola Arena. The Bonnies took on Colgate today at home in St. Bonaventure, where they were defeated by a final score of 58-45. In the Hawk Classic today, St. Joe's defended home court against UAB, closing out a 6-point, 63-57 victory. In the final game from earlier today, Davidson notched their A-10 leading 11th win, beating Charlotte on the road 83-56. Number 4 Iowa currently leads Loyola Chicago by a score of 21-19 at the end of the first quarter. Caitlin Clark leads the Hawkeyes with 9 points and 6 rebounds. Chattanooga faces off against Richmond in Asheville, North Carolina at 7 p.m. in the Cherokee Invitational. Shifting from the hardwood to the gridiron, Thursday Night Football kicks off at 8:15 tonight as Derek Carr and the Saints travel to L.A. to take on Matt Stafford and the Rams in a pivotal matchup between two 500 teams looking to make a late-season push for the playoffs. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Merrick Rhodes.
Back with you, Lou Orlando, Julia Moss, bringing you Fordham women's basketball on WFUV Sports. And you look at this one, UVA ahead 27-7, and I think the storyline's been flipped a little bit. We thought Virginia was bad at three-point shooting, dominant rebounding for us. I'm not sure that's been the case today.
This score is an anomaly to me. Everything about this game has gone absolutely the opposite as we expected coming into the game. I mean, heck, Fordham has 6 offensive rebounds compared to Virginia's 0. 0 offensive rebounds. They're in the top 3 in the country in offensive rebounds and had 0 so far today. Yet they're killing it from 3. They're at 27-7 and have no offensive rebounds, which is generally what gives them those extra possessions in those wins. But nevertheless, down 20 for Fordham.
It's been an efficient start for UVA as we start this second quarter. Johnson swings right, lost in the right wing 3, too strong. The rebound by Harris into the hands of Davis. Davis will push the pace, now slow it down the right arc. Controls in front of the Virginia logo, 20 seconds on the shot clock. 9:35 into the second quarter. Harris free throw line. Kicks out McGurk, top of the key, dribbles left, swings it into the paint for Harris, kicks out for Barry, back up top, McGurk the left wing 3, off left iron. Rebound secured by Lawson. Lawson will push the pace in transition. Right side, Johnson, the right wing 3 is good. 3 for 3 from beyond the arc for the freshman Kimura Johnson. 30 points for Virginia. The lead 30-7 for UVA. 9:06 left in the first quarter. Barry left wing, right elbow Harris. Harris pivots around, now back up top McGurk, uses a screen. Taya Davis right wing, Off a screen from Harris, dribbles left, right elbow, down low for Harris, right block, rolls in. Kayla Harris scores her first point since her return from injury. Fordham down 30-9. Near corner, the open three, Paris Clark, another three for Virginia. 33-7, the UVA lead. Now 6 of 11 from beyond the arc, as they have completely flipped the narrative coming in. Harris, left elbow, two, turnaround jumper off left iron, not close. Lawson controls. Hands off for Johnson at the logo. 8:17 left in the second quarter. Swings left, Olivia McGee, the three. Bounces out, Taya Davis, the rebound. Davis moving with speed. Lobs right for Nelson. Spins down to the elbow, fadeaway two, off the backboard and out, nearly rolled out. Taya Davis had a chance for the O-board, but it's secured by Johnson. Johnson weaving through, swings left, Lawson, the left wing three, is good. 3 straight threes for Virginia. The lead 36-9, 7:49 left in the second quarter, and now it seems like they're making a point to shoot threes, Julia.
They're just having fun with it out there on the court today on the offensive end. Oh my goodness. This is by far their best shooting performance of the season so far, and it isn't even close. Shooting 53.8% from beyond the arc, 7 for 13, and Fordham 21% overall. I'm going to make a bold statement. You're not going to win very many games when you're shooting 21% from the field goal, and that's what they're doing so far. And they're down 36-9, giving up 36 points, and we're not even halfway through the second quarter. This is very uncharacteristic of this defense, to say the very least, and it's because they banked on Virginia just not having that perimeter shot, and they not only have it today, but they are excelling from beyond the arc.
Coach Bridgette Mitchell, when she talked to us, made I think a very important distinction, which was we want to force them to shoot contested threes. We don't want them to shoot open threes. And what UVA's done a lot of today is they've shot open threes to the tune of 7 of 13 from beyond the arc, 53.8%. And oh, by the way, if you're talking about field goal percentage, 63%. So just highly efficient. Again, this is a Virginia team that came in 14th in the ACC, 39.1% from the field, and dead last in the ACC in three-point percentage. And, well, you look at Kimora Johnson, came in shooting 19% from beyond the arc. She's perfect today, 3 for 3. Caden Lawson came in shooting 3 of 11 from beyond the arc. She buried her first look. They've gotten these threes from everywhere up and down their roster. And we talked a little bit about the scoring depth on this team, and you're seeing it in bunches. This is just really a offense by committee right now, and it's gotten off to a sauntering start.
And if you're Fordham, you've got to be so frustrated at this score right now because you're doing everything else really well. You're rebounding at a high rate here. 13 total rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, 7 defensive rebounds, and then against a team that's near the top on the rebounding end, you've got to be happy about that aspect. They're doing that right, and arguably that's the hardest part against this Virginia team is getting rebounds. It's just on the offensive end, unfortunately for Fordham. What wins games is a point scored, not the amount of rebounds that you get, and they're not doing that very well here.
You look at this Fordham team right now, 4 of 19 from the field, as you said, 21%. Not going to win many games shooting like that, and I think when you break down, you analyze this Fordham offense and this Fordham roster, and really the 2 players that you highlight, Amy Hayford and Taylor Donaldson, those are the 2 that you feel can probably create some offense for herself, and mainly Amy Hayford in that point. Taylor Donaldson's a great shooter, probably better off as a catch-and-shoot shooter. Amy Hayford can create offense for herself, and neither of them have been able to do much today when you look at, well, both of them have been held scoreless, and it's been Mandy McGurk leading the way with 5, and then 2 points apiece for Flood and Harris, but there just hasn't been much opening in the half-court set, and I think that's similar to what we saw against Miami.
And I said before the game, I said if Amy Hayford doesn't score at least 15 points, this team might get blown out. And here we are, 36-9. Amy Hayford has been held scoreless so far. But, you know, when I said that was under the assumption that Taylor Donaldson would be scoring points. And she also is not scoring points so far.
Taylor Donaldson, the leading scorer in the A-10, 19.4 points per game. And coming off an excellent game against Fairfield, 25 points, one of her best shooting efforts, 10 for 20 from the field. But, I mean, up and down the roster, struggling to find offense are the Fordham Rams. We're back underway, 7:40 left in the second quarter. Davis bounces down low for Donaldson. It's poked away by Johnson. And another turnover forced by UVA. Donaldson bounces down low for Taylor. The lefty hook is short. Rebound by Nyborg. Hands off from McGurk. McGurk looking for a swing pass. Finds Donaldson. Left wing three is good. Taylor Donaldson on the board. Fordham trails 36-12. Smith left wing, guarded by Flood, gets a screen from Taylor, dribbles right, top of the key. The lob near corner for Brown. Brown dribbles into the paint on Nyborg, goes up with the left, nice contest by Nyborg, it's short. Davis swings right, Flood. Flood hesitates, now drives, stops at the right block, the turnaround fade off left iron. Rebound by Johnson, Johnson pushing the pace. Top of the key, Brown swings left, Lawson the three, is good. Perfect from beyond the arc as Caden Lawson. Virginia had 39-12. 6:35 left in our second quarter. Fordham trailing by 27. Nyborg left elbow extended. Back up top, Davis. Taya Davis drives left, now kicks out. Donaldson left wing. Donaldson, the free throw line two, is short. Rebound by Smith. Smith spins off of Donaldson, knocks her to the ground. Now lob for Brown in the paint. Little pump fake and can't get it to go off glass. Had herself wide open but couldn't finish. Ball rolls out of bounds and they'll say off of Taya Davis the last touch.
Chaotic sequence for both teams there, but Virginia continuing to shoot well from beyond the arc. You have to think, I'm sure they know that they're last in the ACC at this point. Maybe they're shooting a lot, potentially. I'm just throwing this out there, to increase their three-point percentage on the season, because it's pretty low here, and they see the chance here. They see that there's a mismatch, just letting it fly and making a lot.
I think you also clearly identify one of the biggest weaknesses for this Virginia team, a team that hopeful to compete in the ACC, but certainly not one of the more talented teams that may be a chance to get right there. Taylor under the basket, swings underneath, goes up with the right, it's short. Rebound by Hayford. Hayford pushing the pace. Quickly into the lane, pump fake on the left block, kicks out, left wing three. Taylor Donaldson is good. 2 straight threes from Taylor Donaldson. Fordham up to 15 points today. Left wing for Smith. Virginia leads 39-15. It's Taylor right elbow. Hands off Johnson, top of the key. Left wing for Smith. Her pass to the corner, batted out of bounds by Matilda Flood. They'll be the far sidelines inbound for UVA. 5:37 left in the second quarter. Left wing three, Johnson is good. 42 points for UVA. 5:30 left in the second quarter. And their lead 42-15. Flood left wing, right elbow extended Nyborg. Back to Flood, left wing, uses the Nyborg screen as she dribbles right. Into the far corner, Hayford. Off a screen from Nyborg, dribbles left to the free throw line, spins into the paint, goes up with the right and gets it to go. Pretty move by Amy Hayford on the board the first time today.
And that's what we need to see, because there were 2 defenders there, splits them, able to make it.
A three from Katie Pauley, freshly checked into this game, and UVA raining it down from beyond the arc, up 45-17. Flood controls at the logo. 4:45 and ticking on our second quarter. Hayford free throw line, kicks out left wing Flood. Flood takes the left wing three, it's good! Both sides trading threes right now. Fordham back within 25. Smith right wing. Top of the key, swings left for Johnson, off a screen from Brunel. Back to the right wing, Smith. Free throw line for Taylor, swatted away by McGurk into the hands of Donaldson. Donaldson on the left side, hands off Hayford. Back to Donaldson, left wing. Uses a screen from Nyborg, takes the three, it's good! 3 straight threes from the Fordham Rams, and all of a sudden a little momentum cooking. Fordham trails 45-23. The UVA lead still at 22, but this Fordham offense waking up from beyond the arc.
Listen, it still might be a 22-point lead, but the fact that Fordham's offense was able to be potent enough there to force Virginia into a timeout is a progress that we need to see, because otherwise this game was getting genuinely out of hand. So you get to stop the bleeding a little bit for Virginia, but man, are they still making it rain from beyond the arc. In order for these points to really make a difference, to really eat into that lead, you have to be able to have stops on the other end for Virginia.
It's UVA leading by 22, but you look quickly here, and 9 points for Taylor Donaldson. They've all come in this quarter, and Fordham has buried their last 4 shots from the field. So maybe a sign of the tide turning a little bit in Fordham's favor. Still a pretty insurmountable lead right now, but all you can do is chip away.
And that's why there's positives and negatives to having a player like Taylor Donaldson. She oftentimes gets off to cold starts, but listen, she heats up throughout the game, and she's never going to stop shooting no matter what her percentages is at. And we're seeing the benefits of that here.
UVA had 45-23, 4:05 left in the second quarter. Johnson throws one near corner for Pauly, a long pass. Pauly swings it into the short corner for Taylor, but out of bounds. Missed connection there.
Pauly tried to be a little flashy with it, do a little no-look, right out of bounds, though, did not have a player open.
Google Hamilton going deep to her bench as she brings in Pauly. It's Hayford on the right side, top of the key, Donaldson. Donaldson drives right, off a screen from Nelson, the two, bounces out, and rebound by McGee. 3:40 and ticking on our second quarter. Hands off for Johnson, right wing. Top of the key for Pauly, back to Johnson. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Johnson backs up to the logo. Uses a screen from Taylor, throws it into the paint for Taylor, off glass and in right side. UVA had 47-23, 3:18 and ticking on our second quarter. Top of the key, Nelson. Left side for Hayford, wheels around to the right block, off glass, too strong, misses the rim entirely. UVA works in transition. Johnson now wheels out to the left wing. Slowing it down, clock ticks under 3 minutes on our second quarter. It's UVA leading by 24. Johnson guarded by Donaldson, lobs right elbow for Taylor, double teamed by Flood, and Flood steals it away. 2-on-1 for Fordham. Flood drives the left side, bounce for Nelson, back to Flood, left block, and can't finish. Had an opening there, but it's a little too much on the touch.
And that's kind of personified the last couple games for Matilda Flood. Really a tough shooting night, doing everything else but really, really well, because that started out with the Matilda Flood steal. She's still incredibly active on the defensive end, but just those shots have not been falling for her as of late.
It remains Fordham ball off of UVA, top of the key. Hayford uses the screen from Flood, drives right. Pretty move, goes up with the left, but short. Rebound by McGee. McGee left side for Brunel, pump fake, now drives left, down to the block. Tries to save it, but leaning out of bounds. As we await the call, I think they'll call this Fordham ball as Brunel stepped on the line and coming up a little bit limp here. Brunel will exit out of this game as Cameron Taylor comes back in, struggling to put pressure on that left ankle. It's Fordham ball, McGurk controls, 2:15 left in the second quarter. UVA leads by 24. Bounces far corner, Donaldson. Short corner for Nelson, far side. Nelson working on Taylor, spins around, that kicks out Flood. Flood right wing. Hands off Donaldson. Donaldson off her foot. The ball rolls over to Amy Hayford. But they'll say Hayford steps on the line, and chaos and another turnover for Fordham.
Kind of a ugly play there, if we're being honest. Two players going in for the handoff, both McGurk and Taylor Donaldson. Opts for Donaldson, but fumbles the handoff on the way there.
Johnson left side, drives left, picks up her dribble. The deep left wing three from Pauly rolls out. O-board corralled by Taylor. No, they'll say foot on the line. UVA got their first offensive rebound earlier in this quarter. They couldn't get a second. It's McGurk at the UVA logo. 1:35 left in the second quarter. Far corner for Hayford. Bounces short corner for Nelson. Back to the right elbow, Flood. Flood guarded by Taylor, drives on her, goes up the left, swatted down by Cameron Taylor. Pauly works in transition, behind the back dribble, down to the right block, spins around, throws it up, draws the foul. The shot much too short, but able to draw contact on Amy Hayford.
We've seen Pauly's ability to convert from beyond the arc so far, but that was a pretty impressive drive into paint there. Almost gets the layup. Absorbs the contact, draws the foul, gets the chance for 2 free throws here.
And that play spurned by an emphatic block from Cameron Taylor. Pauly's first free throw short. It's a 47-23 UVA lead, 1:17 left in the second quarter. She buries the second. 25-point lead now for UVA. McGurk crosses the timeline, 1:13 and ticking on our first half. Hands off Donaldson. Donaldson behind the back dribble, uses the screen from Nelson. Donaldson dribbles right, throws it into the paint for Nyborg. Up with the left hand, off glass and in. Nice ball movement there from Donaldson to Nyborg. Fordham trails 48-25. 50 seconds left in our second quarter. Johnson bounces right wing McGee. McGee uses the Taylor screen, near corner for Johnson. Cross-court pass, Pauly. Guarded by Nelson. Pauly drives right into the paint. Hop, step, drive. Gets it to go off glass. 50 points for UVA in this first half. A 25-point lead. Donaldson, the right wing three, too strong. Fordham tried to get a trap there on Taylor. She passes out of it. 20 seconds left in the half. A commanding 25-point lead for UVA. 15 seconds and ticking. Johnson up top. 10-9. Gets it back at the left wing. 5 seconds left. Drives left. Throws it up. With contact, no good. Taylor the O-board. Goes back up. It's short. Nelson the rebound. And that's the end of our first half. UVA shoots out of a cannon. They bury 10 threes in the first half en route to a 50-25 first half score.
I mean, it really just comes down to shooting here. And it also comes down to the fact that they're not being aggressive. Fordham is not being aggressive on the offensive end. They're not driving into the paint. Much like we talked about in that Miami game, 0 free throws against Miami in the whole game. So far, 0 free throws in this first half against Virginia, and it's because they're not being aggressive on the offensive end. They're opting for jump shots that are being well defended rather than driving in the paint and testing those post players.
You look at UVA, a lot of intimidating presences down low, right? A lot of tall trees down there in the paint, and they've really scared Fordham away from that paint area. When they've gotten down there, it's been tough for them to get shots out of maybe a couple from Nyborg and Harris, not much coming from the paint. And settling for shots, as you said, on the wing from beyond the arc that they just haven't been hitting consistently. It seems like they're really intimidated by the defense and height factor of UVA.
I mean, they absolutely are, but we talked to Coach Bridgette Mitchell before the game. A point of emphasis was going to be draw fouls. Use what Wofford did against Virginia and do that yourself. But you can't do that if you're not driving into the paint and at least attempting a shot. And we haven't seen that at all. And, of course, 0 for 0 on free throws. We haven't seen it converted whatsoever.
Through one half of play, it's UVA 50, Fordham 25. With that, let's send it back to the Rose Hill Studios. Ben Oppenheimer and Merrick Rhodes have your one-on-one halftime report.
The one-on-one halftime report.
Welcome to the one-on-one halftime report. I'm Ben Oppenheimer, along with my co-host Merrick Rhodes. We're going to go over what we saw from that first half, but before that, let's send it over to Merrick with a scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Taking a look at the scores from around the top 25. Number 6 USC currently leads Long Beach State by a score of 71-62. Mackenzie Forbes leads the way for the Trojans with 30 points. Loyola Chicago still trails number 4 Iowa as Iowa leads 48-46 at halftime. Caitlin Clark 17 points, 7 rebounds in that one. Also at half, number 14 Notre Dame leads Western Michigan by a score of 41-24. Taking a look at the matchups from earlier today, number 18 Marquette was able to get the easy victory over Bucknell by a final of 67-39 at home, improving to 12-0 on the season. In a matchup between two schools in the Centennial State, 8th-ranked Colorado defeats North Colorado 78-56 in Boulder. Number 11 Utah demolished Weber State by 53 points, 89-36 was your final score from Salt Lake City. William & Mary traveled to Virginia Tech with the hopes of an upset, but the 15th-ranked Hokies stood strong, handling the Tribe 76-43. In the West Palm Beach Classic, number 10 Baylor was victorious in their matchup against South Florida 73-50. The Bears improved to 11-0 on the season. Moving across the country, number 2 UCLA walked away with their 6th home win and 11th overall win when they defeated Hawaii 85-46 at Pauley Pavilion. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Merrick Rhodes.
So it seems that Fordham women's basketball just can't seem to catch a break. They're currently on a 4-game losing streak. They lost 74-62 to Maine at Rose Hill a few weeks ago, and they struggled to just try to, chip away at the deficit in that game, and they were trying to come back, and they couldn't muster a comeback. And then it was a really tough loss to Duquesne on the road, losing an OT by 2 points. That's just hard for if you're the players, that's hard to get out of your head, wishing that you could have won that game. And then losing to Siena by 3 points, 65-62. Then after that, 77-74, a loss to Fairfield. Now they're in Charlottesville. They're in Virginia, and they're coming in, obviously, as the underdogs, but you're thinking, hey, maybe they can, show that they can make Virginia basketball play their way. Fordham forces over 20 turnovers per game, and they also lead the A-10 in steals. And Virginia also shoots very poor from three in the A-10. And so right now, none of the characteristics that Fordham has been good at this season seem to be going well for them. Virginia is shooting 10 for 17 from deep. They're shooting 17 for 31 overall. And that's primarily because of Merrick, a huge run in the first quarter, 27-7. How do you come back from that? Can you come back from that after that poor of a start to this game for Fordham?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. 27-7, you really handcuff yourself. But I'm looking right here. You look at the second quarter compared to the first. Final was 23-18. Obviously, you got Taylor Donaldson going. She's got 9 points now at the half. Obviously, not a lot of points scored in the first quarter for Fordham. But I think the biggest problem for Fordham, and it's frustrating because you're looking at a team in UVA who coming into the game averaged a field goal percentage of 39, 3-point percentage of 25, and in this game they're shooting the lights out. They're shooting over 50% both from the field and from three, which is something that you obviously can control to some extent with your defense, but when they just start making it like that when they haven't, it's hard when you don't expect something like that. I know that was what Wofford was able to key in on in their victory over UVA is they made a lot of threes and they drew a lot of fouls, which is another thing I think Fordham has had a tough time with is I know in Coach's Sound, Coach Bridgette Mitchell said she wanted to try and draw some fouls and get UVA into some foul trouble, but 4 fouls at the half, they're not too stressed out about that, and I think the biggest key is that Fordham needs to shoot better because that's something that they've struggled with all year. You look at some of their losses this year. Looking at the past few games they've had, they're shooting 35%, 40%, 31%. You have to get these field goal percentages up. The 3-point percentages have been sub 30 for a lot of these games. Obviously, they're doing pretty well at the half in terms of shooting the three. They did a good job of that in the second half, but I think they really need to clean it up in the second half. They need to change the defensive scheme because I can't imagine coming into this game against a team shooting 25% from three. That was really in the front of your mind, but hopefully at halftime, Coach Mitchell can sit down with the girls and go over how they can go about stopping the 3-point barrage that has come out of nowhere in this game.
Yeah, obviously very unexpected. And I'll tell you what, Merrick, if you look at the second quarter alone, you just ignore the first quarter in this game, UVA's outscored them 23-18. That's a fairly close game. And let's pretend that was the score coming out of the first quarter. We could have seen a totally different second quarter. But this is a 4-quarter sport. And so you can't erase what happened in that first quarter, just the insane barrage of threes and just ball movement and just an absolute failure by Fordham to contain any of it. And it's hard to catch up from what you've lost from that first quarter. You can attempt to make a comeback. Comebacks, stranger things have happened. Comebacks have been made from 20 points down, even more in basketball. But when you start out losing 27-7, when you go 3 for 15 from the field in the first, 1 for 6 from three in the first, and then you allow Virginia to go 4 for 8 from deep and 9 for 14 overall from the field, that just gives Virginia too much momentum. And then you see that Virginia scored 15 out of their 27 points off of turnovers in the first quarter. So they really just got out running, and they caught Fordham by surprise. And again, I'm not sure if you want to call it surprise because you know that Virginia is a great team. They play in the ACC. But to have them start out like that, I think it kind of just it hit Fordham in the face. These girls, they didn't know what they were dealing with in terms of the ferocity of this UVA offense. And now they're paying for it. They're going to try to come back, but they're down 25. Merrick, I want to ask you, who do you think is someone who has to get hot on Fordham?
I think the easy answer is Amy Hayford. I mean, she's averaging 12 points a game for the Rams this year. She's one of the best shooters from three-point on the team, 35% from three, 42% from the field, arguably one of the best shooters on the team, and she's sitting at halftime right now with 2 points. She's got to contribute because Taylor Donaldson can't do this all on herself. I mean, she's been good, obviously, struggled a little bit in the first half, got things going in the second half with 9 points, but I think something you really pointed out that really should be a big focus in the second half is the turnovers and the defensive side, because Fordham coming into this game has had a really big problem with turnovers this year. They average 16.6 turnovers per game, but on the other end, they average 11.5 steals per game. So they've been able to kind of balance it out a little bit, whereas if you look at Virginia, they do also turn the ball over at a decent rate at 13.3 a game, and they don't really steal the ball nearly as much as Fordham does. And if you look at the way this game has gone so far, Fordham has turned the ball over a total of 12 times to UVA's 6, and in terms of steals, Fordham only has 4 steals. So the defense really needs to step up in terms of forcing turnovers and stealing and getting steals, and I think the player that really needs to get involved on the offensive end is Amy Hayford, because they need some three-pointers if you want to close out a 25-point deficit. I mean, they did a good job in the second half. It did all they really could in the second quarter, I should say, in terms of trying to close that gap. But I think Amy Hayford needs to get involved and start scoring on the offensive end, because that can really unlock this offense and get the points going.
Absolutely. I think Donaldson, you could say, needs to step up as well. She's leading with 9 points, but she's shooting 3 for 11 from the field. So, but she also at the same time, it showing kind of what a weird performance this game is for Fordham, because they're actually not shooting terribly from 3, especially in the second quarter. So Donaldson, she's 3 for 11 overall from the field, but 3 for 6 from deep. So that's not bad. That's solid. And Fordham, they really started to play better in that second quarter. They started to shoot better. And coming out of halftime, they're going to look to continue that momentum that they established, or if you want to even call it momentum, how about signs of life? They're looking to expand that and continue that in the third and fourth quarter. It's just, you wonder, is that even possible? Because it's just leads like that, 27-7, as I've said, it's a hill to climb when you do that. And so there's a lot of things that Fordham needs to work on if they want to get back in this. I am Ben Oppenheimer, along with my co-host Merrick Rhodes. We're going to send it back to Charlottesville. Lou Orlando and Julian Moss are going to have you all the way for the rest of the game. Thank you for tuning in to the one-on-one halftime report. Signing off.
Hi, my name is Ryan Rucco, WFUV class of 2008. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Welcome back to the John Paul Jones Arena. Lou Orlando, Julian Moss. It's Fordham women's basketball on WFUV Sports. And December 21st, a few days away from Christmas. This has not been a Christmas miracle for the Fordham Rams, trailing 25 to UVA. And I want to jump into this right away. You look at what UVA did in the first half. We mentioned it right before we sent it to the halftime show. Shooting 10 of 17 from beyond the arc. And I really just want to get right into this because Coach Mitchell said, hey, we want to force them to take contested threes. Well, that's not quite. It's kind of looked like a shoot around out there for UVA. They go up to a spot, they look up, they say, hey, I might like this shot, and they pull it. And quite frankly, they've made most of those shots. So I think you have to be a little disappointed with the perimeter defense right now for Fordham.
And you can tell Virginia is still not looking for that three-point shot as their first option. They're seeing that they're wide open and they're just taking it. I mean, they're making Kamora Johnson look like Steph Curry from beyond the arc. And if you want to know her season stats, they're pretty poor from beyond the arc coming into this game. 14 of 56 on the year, 25% from beyond the arc. Shooting very, very much better today against Fordham, and that's because she's had completely wide open looks. And if you're Fordham, you just want to be a little more tenacious on the defensive end, and that's not something that we've said about this Fordham Rams team all too often this season. That's one of their strong points. And we've seen in this game they've actually kind of gone away from the press a little bit, doing more zone, more man once they get into the half court. But you're down 25. You need some quick buckets if you want to get back into this one. Throw the press back in there. What could it hurt? I mean, you're down by 25. If it doesn't work, if Virginia breaks it easily, you get a couple quick buckets. You know, ease back off. Try going back to the zone or the man. But at this point, something has to change on the defensive end. And I think just going back to what you know, they're very good at implementing the press. It's just a matter of if Virginia will break it easily or not.
I think you've got some conflicting feelings about the defense because, yes, they're allowing a ton of shots from beyond the perimeter, but you also look at doubling Virginia in turnovers. They've forced 12 turnovers, or perhaps that, but, you know, Fordham's defense has forced some turnovers. I think Matilda Flood's played some excellent defense. They've been able to force turnovers, but hasn't translated to points. Really not getting a ton outside of one little glimmer at the end of that second half. At the end of the second quarter, Taylor Donaldson explodes for 9 points, but that offense fell flat in the first half.
I mean, the point of forcing turnovers is to get extra possessions in which ideally you would score on, but Fordham has not been able to make Virginia truly pay for the turnovers that they've committed because they're getting in on the other end and their transition offenses just look stagnant. Most of the points that we've seen so far have come from set offensive plays, which again, this game is all about things flipping on their head, things we're not used to. Fordham only scoring in set plays is, again, something we are just not used to.
Fordham in danger of taking a 5-game losing streak into conference play. Action resumes in our third quarter. Donaldson left side for Nelson. Nelson drives left on Taylor, spins around the block, resets top of the key. Donaldson off a screen from Flood. Donaldson drives right, kicks near corner McGurk. McGurk left elbow fadeaway is short. Rebound by Clarkson. Laura Johnson controls at the point. A team leading 12 points for the freshman. Bounces right side, Alexia Smith lobs down low Clarkson, far corner for Clark. Clark drives left on Flood, goes up and draws the foul. Right away, Virginia getting back to the line. That's something they did very well in that first half.
That's something they've done very well this entire season is get to the line, and I think the more impressive stat is just how much they've been able to convert. Get the chance to do it once again here.
Paris Clark perfect from the line this season, 9 for 9. She buries that one. 26-point lead for UVA. And the second attempt good as well. Perfect trip for Paris Clark. They got to the free throw line 8 times in that first half and already 2 attempts 1 minute into this second half. It's Rose Nelson on the right arc. Swings right for Flood. Flood drives to the free throw line, into the paint, goes up with the left, can't get it to go, but hacked by Cameron Taylor. It'll be Flood going to the line.
Finally, we're getting some free throws for Fordham, and that's what they've been missing in that first half is those aggressive drives to the paint, putting up a shot, even if it doesn't go in. What Virginia really lacked in that last game was the ability to defend without fouling, and, you know, gotta try and at least force that once again, because if they did it incorrectly the first time, chances are they might be prone to fouling again.
Flood misses her first free throw. Here's the second. It rolls in. 1 for 2 trip from Flood. 52-26, the UVA lead. She missed a crucial free throw at the end of that Fairfield game. Fordham breaks out the full court press. UVA breaks it. Alexia Smith right side, swings right for Johnson. Johnson top of the key. Back to the right wing for Smith. Dribbles over top of the key. Swings to the far corner. The two from Paris Clark. Rolls out the over by Taylor. Back up on the left block and in. Cameron Taylor making her presence felt. A 54-26 lead. McGurk hands off right wing for Donaldson. Donaldson dribble drive right side. Flips it up and slapped down by London Clarkson. Fordham seems to be a bit more aggressively attacking the paint. Be a baseline inbound for McGurk. Lobs for Nelson, right elbow. Top of the key, Flood. Flood, near corner, Nelson. Nelson drives to the paint. The righty, too, is short. Rebound by Smith. Smith, outlet pass, Johnson. Bounce pass, right block. Clark rolls in. It's a 30-point lead for UVA. 8:13 left in the third quarter.
Excellent court vision there by Kimora Johnson, able to see the streaker on the right side, finding her perfectly. Fordham outnumbered defensively there.
Kimora Johnson leads the ACC with 5.3 assists per game. Donaldson's dribble bounces off of Johnson. She re-enters the timeline. Has it nearly stolen away by Clarkson. Swings left. McGurk, the three is short. Loose ball corralled by Rose Nelson. Back into the hands of Donaldson. Right wing three. Doesn't hit rim. Smith the rebound. UVA pushing the pace. Into the hands of Clark. Right elbow. Kicks short corner for Smith. Back up top. Left wing Johnson. Johnson resets at the logo. 15 on the shot clock. Double team by Flood and Donaldson. Finds Taylor top of the key. The lob out of the reach of London Clarkson and out of bounds. Strong defensive possession there for Fordham.
Fordham's been playing well on the defensive end this entire game, albeit playing a little bit better since the second half has started, but what happens right now is what matters, is they're able to score off of these turnovers.
Trailing by 30, it's Donaldson right wing, guarded by Johnson. Uses a Nyborg screen. Into the near corner, McGurk. McGurk lobs for Nyborg, the right elbow, two rolls out. Rebound secured by Taylor. Johnson on the other end. 6:58 and ticking on our third quarter. UVA ahead 56-26. Clark top of the key. Left elbow Clarkson drives on Nyborg, spins into the paint, fading away with the right and rolls it in. Their biggest lead of the night, 32 points.
What we're seeing so far in the second half is what Virginia is typically good at. It's those offensive rebounds, it's those putbacks and drives in the paint, open layups.
Using their height to their advantage, Flood drives the left side, draws the foul on Paris Clark, and I think a notable adjustment from the first half to the second half is just how often Fordham seems to be attacking the paint early here. Seems like every possession sets up a drive off a screen.
When you go into the half with 0 free throws, it's definitely a call to action, if you will, of, hey, maybe we should try and draw some fouls, especially when the last game that they played was one that was lost because of their foul tendencies.
That foul on the floor. A loose ball here, knocked out of bounds by Jillian Brown. And we'll have another baseline inbound. It'll be Taya Davis on the far side. Lobs for Nelson, left wing. Nelson hands off for Davis. Davis guarded by Brown. Top of the key, bounces Donaldson in the paint. Swings it to the right block. Nyborg kicks out McGurk. Right wing three. Off right iron. A rebound corralled by Johnson. Johnson free throw line two is good. 14 points for Kimora Johnson.
And that essentially was a free throw right there. She's got her feet set at the free throw line. Nobody was nearby. Nailed it.
Tay Davis, right wing, hands off Donaldson. Donaldson uses a Nyborg screen. Pass stolen away by Johnson. McGurk recovers in the backcourt, and Fordham will re-enter. Crossing the timeline, Davis swings left, Nelson. Nelson drives left. Picks up her dribble on the block, swiped away by Paris Clark. Clark driving, McGurk gets back, pretty move, and goes up with the right and finishes wide open. Completely fooled McGurk there.
Beautiful move there. Fordham, unfortunately for them, they did a really good job of getting the play back in after that tipped ball into the half court, but just Rose Nelson gives it right back to Virginia with the beautiful move on the layup. Virginia scores.
A 10-0 run for UVA. They're up 40 with 5:15 to play in the third quarter. Davis nearly loses it, but recovers at the logo. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Left wing three. Donaldson bounces out. Taylor secured the rebound, but quickly in there, McGurk, and didn't knock it away, but forced her to lose concentration. This will be Fordham ball.
Seeing a lot of the same issues that we saw for Fordham in that first half. A scoring drought now, 3 minutes and 38 seconds long of game time. And man, if they don't start scoring soon, I mean, it's already quite out of hand, but they need to do something and do something quick to get this manageable again.
Trailing by 40, top of the key. Hayford, the three is strong. Rebound by Lawson. Lawson pushes ahead for Johnson. Pretty Euro step and finishes with the right. The run continues for UVA, 64-26.
Essentially the same exact move again with the Euro step. Fordham just has no answer for it.
Davis crosses the timeline. Head coach Bridgette Mitchell will call the timeout on the back of a 12-0 run for UVA. 64-26 the lead, and Fordham now seems to, on top of the offensive struggles, seems to be taking a step back defensively in this half as well.
I mean, I think it's more of Virginia is doing what they're supposed to be doing a lot better as well. They're being more tenacious on the offensive and defensive board, something they've done so well all season. They kind of abandoned that three ball a little bit. They got out to the lead they wanted to. Now they're getting back to the basics, the building blocks that have put them to the position where they are right now, what makes their team so good. And Fordham, unfortunately, have no answer for that aspect of their game either.
Fordham trailing by 42, 4:46 left in the third quarter. And we'll take a quick break. You're listening to Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports.
What's up, everyone? I'm Julia Moss, one of the hosts of WFUV's women's sports podcast, All In. Join us each week as we break down everything from the WNBA, women's collegiate sports, the NWSL, and so much more. We're also joined by recurring hosts including Maddie Bamonte, Taylor Masetta, Sam Bohr, and Annabelle Watson. All In is a production of WFUV Sports.
Back with you, Lou Orlando, Julia Moss, Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports. UVA put up 50 points in the first half. That's a season high, and they've continued to add on, outscoring Fordham 14-1 in this third quarter. And I think something you touched on, Julia, right before we went to break was it seems like now they're experimenting with systems. They could continue to take threes, but it seems like now the focus has become, let's get some points inside, and you wonder if both sides will start to experiment with systems. We had heard from Coach Bishop that they might play with a couple of defensive looks and stuff like that. And at very least, this is a chance for Fordham to work on some things and get a lot of their players some looks here.
I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but Fordham is probably not going to win this game. They're down by 38 points, 4:46 left in the third quarter. If you want to experiment with things, sure, now might be the time to do that. You're going into conference play because you have a unique opportunity here. This Virginia team is better than, I would say, most, if not all, of the Atlantic 10. Figure out what works today. Try some new things. If it works particularly well against Virginia, chances are it's going to work pretty well against A10 opponents. So you have that unique opportunity. This game is not looking like it's going to end in a competitive manner, so you might as well take what you can get out of it.
I think that's why you schedule games like this against Miami and UVA. I mean, this is two ACC opponents. That's not something that Fordham typically does. And it's not always going to go like last year where you play Maryland and you're within 10 points the entire game. I think that was a pretty special circumstance, but you go up against the level of opponent that you're probably not going to face this time in the A10. Now, worth knowing the A10's been excellent this year with a lot of surprising teams and actually a few teams ahead of Virginia in the net rankings right now in the A10, but probably talent level not at the same level. Resuming action, Hayford left wing, 4:40 and ticking on our third quarter. Drives down to the short corner, kicks out McGurk, left elbow. Back to Hayford, left wing, into the paint. Nyborg, the misconnection. Out of bounds, the turnover.
And those are the kind of passes that we're seeing go awry time and time again. It's those trying to find where the offensive player is going to be, not where they are. The timing is just not there yet for this Fordham team.
Quickly now got a timeout. We just took a media break, but I guess we really want to milk this a little bit. But I think we've seen them go for that look a little bit where you have the UVA defender trying to deny the pass to the post. And that pass has been there if they want it, but it hasn't been accurate this game. I think we've seen 3 or 4 times where that pass has sailed out of bounds. So clearly it's something that Fordham's trying to exploit, but just haven't been on the money with their passing today.
And they're using the Virginia defenders as a bit of a lift-off point to create space behind. But the problem is that you have to pass it not only over that Virginia defender, but you have to get it where the defender or the offensive player for Fordham is going to be, not where they are. And that's where the issues are coming. It's getting it to where they're going to be. And we're seeing a lot of those passes go out of bounds because, as I mentioned before, the communication, the timing is just not there. But I think it's important also to note that it's not necessarily supposed to be there yet. We talk about it a lot. This is a team that none of them got valuable minutes last year together. Of course, there's 4 players returning from last season, but none of them outside of Matilda Flood got consistent minutes, and much less consistent minutes with one another. So these are the kind of growing pains that we're going to see not only today, but time and time again as we get into A10.
I'll do a subtle plug here. We recorded a women's basketball non-conference review the other day. I think one of the things that we stumbled into was that whereas other teams in the A10 where their cores are together, when they get into conference play, they're basically ready to go and there's not going to be too much changes there. I think you're still going to see a lot of growth and a lot of development with this team because, I mean, hey, you have a summer together, that's probably not enough. All these players are coming from different places. They have never played together. Even the players that are, still here, probably Rose Nelson and Matilda Flood are the only 2 players that have legitimately shared legitimate minutes on a court together. So that building of that chemistry and incorporating new systems as the season goes along, that's going to be a season-long process. And I think maybe also factor in the fact that they haven't played a game in 10 days. There's a lot feeding into this. And so I think as we get into conference play, it's unfortunate maybe that the A10 seems to be so stacked this year, but I still think you're going to see this team have to go through progression and development even deep into conference play.
I mean, look, they say the best way to learn from things is through mistakes. So, I don't know, if we're trying to figure out optimistic aspects of this game, positive takeaways, is that, the more mistakes they make, ideally, the more they learn from those mistakes. So this is something, I don't know if I'm reaching here. I might be reaching.
Mitchell agrees with you there.
I might be reaching just a little bit here, but listen, the more those communication errors happen, the more you do, seriously, the more you do learn from that. You're like, okay, that player will not be there at that specific point when I pass it to them. Let me not do that the next time. At least I hope that's what's going through their mind.
Look at this situation with a little bit of realism. We talk about it in the longer scope of this Fordham team going through a massive rebuild and uncertainties about the expectations, predicted to finish 13 out of 15 teams in the A10, that there were probably going to be some rocky bumps along the road, and this certainly looking to be one of them. Baseline inbound for Brown. Finds McGee in the near corner. Full court press in effect for Fordham. They still haven't crossed the timeline. Now they do. The pass ahead to Brown. Swings it back for McGee. Off her shin. Matilda Flood steals it away. Flood will push it over the timeline. Hands off for Hayford near side. Hayford elbow kicks out Davis. Davis holds at the Virginia logo. 15 on the shot clock. 4:10 in the third quarter. 10 on the shot clock, swings left, Donaldson. Back up top of the key, Davis. 5 on the shot clock, takes the 3, banks it in. Looked a little uneasy there, but she gets it to go. Trailing 64-29.
And she doesn't shoot a lot of those either. She's definitely a dribble, drive first kind of point guard, but banks it in there.
Full court press, the trap along the near side, stolen away by Donaldson. An errant pass by Jillian Brown. Coach Bridgette Mitchell going to the full court press here. We've seen a lot of that this season. They didn't break it out in the first half. Left elbow, Hayford dribbles her way into the paint, goes up with the left, a wild shot. Won't go, and it's corralled by Brown. Brown quickly crosses the timeline, 3:20 in the third quarter. Left wing Lawson, the 3 is short. Rebound corralled by Taya Davis. Davis right arc, bounces right block, Nyborg. Nyborg back to the basket on Brunel, finds Davis free throw line, kicks out far corner, Taylor Donaldson, the 3 is good. Donaldson, 12 points today as she sinks another 3.
Beautiful pass by Taya Davis, too. We talk about the fact she's turnover prone, but the benefit of having her on the court is her ability to pass.
The full court press forcing another turnover. Fordham moves in transition. Tavis's pass nearly stolen away, but recovering in the offensive end. It's Nyborg left elbow, resets Taya Davis, top of the key 3. Rolls out, O-board by Matilda Flood near side. Finds Nyborg right block, throws up a 2, much too short. But Lawson, too much contact, and Nyborg going to the line, and this full court press seems to have sparked something a little bit here in these Fordham Rams.
And this is a positive thing that we are learning about Fordham. The full court press is working. Maybe they should have went to it earlier, maybe sometime in the first half when they were mounting this lead that they now have that seems insurmountable at this point. But full court press, as you mentioned, definitely working so far.
It's a 64-32 lead for UVA. Nyborg since her first. A chance to cut the UVA lead to 30 on this second attempt. Perfect trip to the line for Nyborg. They trail 64-34. Nyborg checks out. Rose Nelson comes in. And they'll stay with the full court press. Near side inbound. Clark quickly trapped by Hayford and Flood. Flood gets a hand on it. It's stolen by Donaldson. Into the paint. Flood right block. Kicks out McGurk. Left wing. Pump fake drive. Left elbow two. Bounces out. Rebound by Clark. Clark tripped up, and that should be a foul. I think they'll get Amy Hayford trying to get over and get in front of her. We'll see what exactly the call is.
I do believe they're calling it on Amy Hayford. Tripped up Virginia in the backcourt trying to execute this full court press.
Second foul of the quarter for Fordham. 64-34 UVA leads. Johnson controls at the logo. Bounces left side Clark. Clark off a screen from Taylor to the free throw line. Wheels around the right block. Too strong with the two. Taylor the O-board goes back up and gets it in. 66-34 the UVA lead. Fordham pushes in transition. Hayford drives into the paint. And the jump ball called. Alexia Smith got her hands on it. Hayford had the ball down by her stomach.
Tough night, too, for Amy Hayford so far. 1 for 6 shooting, but it's not even the 2 points. I think it's the shot number. Only 6 shots. You have Mandy McGurk having more shots than Amy Hayford, which is not something I think they drew up before this game.
UVA breaks the pass. Cross-court pass to Johnson. He wheels out to the top of the key. 15 seconds on the shot clock. 1:40 left in the third quarter. Johnson drives the right lane. Now swings back out for Smith. Has it swiped away by Donaldson. Donaldson pushing with Davis. Bounce pass. Davis near side. Pump fake. Goes up with the right. Air ball. Rebound by Taylor. She's double teamed by Davis and Flood. Clark saves it on the near side. Back into the hands of Taylor. And before they can cross the timeline, an agitated timeout called by Amaka Agugwa Hamilton. And UVA points have been coming so easy in this game. All of a sudden, they can't seem to break this Fordham full court press. Agugwa Hamilton will take some time to draw up some press break plays.
Kind of surprising. Virginia just looks entirely frazzled and unable to break this press at all. I mean, Fordham has the luxury of being able to practice it through game in and game out, pressing more than any team I've ever seen play NCAA basketball. Some games going from start to finish in a full court press the whole way there. So they have a lot of experience with this, breaking it out in the second half. Virginia, I'm sure, was not prepared for that after the first half that they had, but struggling with it so far here.
4 turnovers for Virginia in their last 3 minutes, and you might raise some concerns about the half-court defense for Fordham, and we heard that head coach Bridgette Mitchell wanted to get a look at that zone defense. That's what they came out in. We heard they might go back to the full-court press at some point, and they've gone back to it here in this second half, and it's worked wonders. They've made this UVA team that, again, has worked with ease for a lot of this game, all of a sudden uncomfortable getting the ball across the timeline.
I mean, look, it's a weird position to play Virginia in right now because you don't necessarily want to try out new things that you don't know if they work against a very strong Virginia team, one of the stronger opponents you'll play this season. But this is also your last chance to try things out before you get into conference play. So you're in like a catch-22 situation here where you can either fully commit and try and win with what you know works, or you can set yourself up better for the future and more specifically conference play.
It's a 5 for Fordham. Flood, Davis, McGurk, Nelson, and Donaldson. It's a near side inbound for Smith in her own zone. The inbound tipped by Flood, stolen by McGurk. Another turnover forced by this press. They reset up top to Taya Davis. Minute 13 left in the third quarter. Fordham trails by 32. Right elbow, Rose Nelson. Dribbles left, has it stolen away. Dribbled right into that trap. But called a jump ball as Paris Clark and Rose Nelson fighting over possession. Taylor Donaldson to inbound. Box formation for Fordham. Logo for Davis off a screen from Flood. Resets up top, Donaldson. Donaldson hop step into the paint. Floater no good. Taylor the rebound. Crossing the timeline, Alexia Smith back up top, Johnson. 50 seconds left in the third quarter. Smith gets it back, moves over to the top of the key. Now left wing Johnson. Bounces right elbow Clarkson. Back out to Smith. Smith straight away, finds Taylor, left elbow extended the two. It bounces out. Flood the rebound. 30 seconds, shot clock 3 seconds behind the game clock. Davis right wing. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 22 on the game clock. Fordham slows things down. 13 left on the shot clock. It bounces for Flood, right elbow, and took a step before she got the ball down. That will be a travel. Virginia will have last possession in this third quarter with the shot clock off, 13.5 seconds left. Full court press in effect. It's Johnson far side, cross court pass Clark. They break the press, but that pass into the paint stolen away by Nelson. 5 seconds left. Donaldson with the ball. Donaldson heaves the deep three. Not close, off the backboard. That's how our third quarter comes to an end. A 9-point third quarter for the Fordham Rams, but showing some life, showing some intensity, but still trailing by 32.
I mean, look, feels like every possession Virginia has ends in a turnover in this last few minutes of play, but Fordham still only 8 points off of those turnovers in the full game, so not even just including the last stretch of minutes in this game. If you want to take a positive away from this, because I feel like that's what we're going for here, is just taking away positives from this game, because they're not going to win. I don't know, 10 minutes left. You never know. Surely stranger things have happened, but you have to get those points off of those turnovers. I feel it's so silly to keep saying, but when you're forcing as many, I mean, up to 14 turnovers now Virginia has, and most of those coming in the second half. But Fordham is still stagnant on the offensive end. They're not getting good looks. They're still chucking up shots that maybe would be better under the basket, and it's frustrating to see, because they're putting themselves in the positions to mount a comeback, but they're just not executing on the last part of what it takes to eat into a lead that is as big as this one.
3 quarters done, 1 left to play. Virginia ahead 66-34. Let's send it back to the Rose Hill Studios. Merrick Rhodes has your one-on-one scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Taking a trip around the A10, Loyola Chicago currently trails Iowa by a score of 57-72 with a minute left in the third quarter. Caitlin Clark looking to close out a triple-double as she has 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists with a quarter left to play. Chattanooga and Richmond are underway as Chattanooga leads the Spiders by a score of 16-14 with 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Earlier today, Rhode Island walked away with a 97-53 win over Lemoyne at home. Sophie Phillips led the way for the Rams with 21 points. In D.C., George Washington defeated Stonehill 67-34. Essence Brown led the Revolutionaries in scoring with 25 points. In the Tulane Holiday Classic earlier today in New Orleans, Duquesne fell to Little Rock 63-52. It was the Trojans' first win of the season. Down in Philadelphia, the Wildcats of Villanova walked away with the Big 5 victory over LaSalle on the road. St. Bonaventure took on Colgate today at home and were defeated by a final score of 58-45. The Bonnies fall to 3-8 on the season. St. Joe's defended home court in the Hawk Classic today against UAB, closing out a 63-57 victory. Davidson leads the A-10 with 11 wins this season after defeating the Charlotte 49ers on the road 83-56. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Merrick Rhodes.
And back with you for one final quarter. Lou Orlando, Julia Moss, Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports. You spent 3 quarters with us, spend one more, taking you into Christmas break with Fordham versus UVA. We've seen a number of A-10 upsets against top 25 teams, against Power 5 teams. This is not shaping up to be one of them right now. But Fordham, one last quarter to play here. It'll be UVA to start with ball, already up 32. Laura Johnson at the Virginia logo. Bounces left wing Smith into the paint. Stolen by Matilda Flood. Intercepts that pass. Gets into the hands of Taya Davis. Davis tries to swing right for Donaldson. Clark jumped it, swats it out of bounds. It will stay here for Fordham. Near side inbound, Donaldson. Bounces Davis at the logo. 9:38 left in our fourth quarter. Donaldson lobs for Nelson, right block, has some trouble with the pass. Rolls off her shin and out of bounds. Fordham will stick with the full court press. It's Davis and McGurk up top. Clark trapped by Davis and Flood. Cross court pass. Johnson looking for Taylor. Throws it behind. And it looks like that one might have been tipped on the way over by Fordham. Staying right here for UVA, near side inbound. Johnson, left elbow, kicks out near corner Clark. Clark drives the lane, now kicks out Johnson, the three. Rolls out, bit too short. Rebound by McGurk. McGurk, left wing, Rose Nelson. Fakes the handoff, now drives into the paint, tries to kick out, stolen by Johnson. Johnson working in transition, gets to the free throw line, kicks right. Clarkson, the elbow too, no good. Donaldson, the rebound, moving quickly. Bounce pass, Flood, left block, two, wide open and good. Fordham cuts the lead to 30. 8 points now for Matilda Flood. It's Clark, right wing. Back to the right wing for Smith. Top of the key, Clarkson, hands off Clark. Clark guarded by Flood. Over to Taylor, right elbow extended, the two, off left iron. Flood will let it travel out of bounds. Nelson comes out, Miranda Nyborg comes in.
I think it's important to talk about just how good, I mean, it's a blowout, but Fordham really has been excellent on the defensive end in this, pretty much this entire second half. 66-36 now. Virginia has not scored many points here in this second half. In fact, only 16 compared to the gauntlet they showed behind the arc in that first half. So adjustments have been made and progress definitely made for Fordham.
They forced 8 turnovers since they went over to that full court press, which carries over now to the fourth quarter. McGurk, top of the key, 7:57 left in the fourth quarter. Davis, left wing, tries to split the defenders, has it go off her shin. Flood recovers near side. Back to Davis, drives down to the block, kicks out Davidson. Donaldson drives the left lane, kicks out Flood. Far corner three, too strong. Rebound by Johnson, working in transition. Johnson, the floater, bounces out. McGee, the offensive rebound, goes back up, no good. Flood the rebound. 2 good looks for UVA, nothing doing. Davis calling for the handoff to Donaldson. Lobs for Nyborg, right elbow, back out Taya Davis. The right wing three is good. 2 threes for Taya Davis tonight. She had 2 coming in. And Fordham trails 66-39. UVA breaks the full court press. It's McGee up top, hands off for Johnson. Johnson works over to the right wing, the handoff for McGee, off a Taylor screen, takes the straight on three, it's short. O-board by Clarkson, left wing for Pauly, uses the Taylor screen down to the short corner. Back up top, Johnson, 10 seconds on the shot clock, 6:43 left in the game. Johnson drives the right lane on Flood, throws up a right-hand shot, it's no good, doesn't hit rim. Fordham pushes the other way. Davis, free throw line, kicks far corner. Donaldson, the three is strong. Nyborg, the rebound, right block. Back out. Mandy McGurk, the right wing three is good. Back-to-back threes for Fordham. 66-42. Cross-court pass, Taylor, left elbow. Resets Johnson at the logo. 6:10 and ticking on the fourth quarter clock. It's back-to-back threes for Fordham. UVA looking to respond. Pauly, right wing. Moves down to the short corner at the right block. Called for the travel. This Fordham defense holding strong in the second half.
And we're starting to see a lot of the reasons why Virginia looked very human against Wofford just one game ago. If Fordham, you got to think if Fordham hadn't had that disastrous first half, where would we be right now? Because they're eating into this lead, albeit taking it from a whole lot to just a lot as far as the lead goes, but a lot of positives happening so far in the second half.
A lot of starters still out there for UVA in this fourth quarter, 5:50 and ticking. It's Rose Nelson at the top of the key. Looking for a pass, finds Nyborg. Bounces right block, McGurk, and a beautiful cut and finishes in the lane.
And they've tried that this entire game, and it finally worked there, getting Mandy McGurk wide open for the layup.
Fordham back within 22 for the first time in quite a while, 66-44. 5:27 left in the fourth quarter. Alexia Smith bounces right wing for Brown. Brown looking for a pass, top of the key. Lawson almost loses it, recovers, swings left side, Clark. It's 5 seconds on the shot clock. Clark drives the lane, throws up a wild shot, can't get it to go. Nearly gets her own O-board. The ball travels out of bounds. I think they'll say last touch by Fordham. So stay right here for UVA. Fordham, another good half-court set there, forcing the shot clock down, forcing them to take a contested shot. Baseline inbound, it's Smith right wing. Top of the key for Clark. Got an offensive foul. Looks to be on Jillian Brown. A legal screen there. And Fordham, one way or another, forcing another turnover. Top of the key, Nelson. Clock ticks under 5 minutes in this fourth quarter. Nelson swings left for Donaldson, guarded by Clark. Donaldson works down to the wing. Resets for McGurk. McGurk covered closely by Brown. 10 seconds on the shot clock as she hands off for Hayford at the logo. 7 on the shot clock. Hayford drives left side, looking for a kick out, called for the travel on her pivot around.
And that's the second time this game that's happened so far. In the first possession of the game, just getting a little too excited, trying to establish her pivot foot while also looking for the shot. Moves just a little bit there, but that is going to be called a travel every single time.
But Julia, we're starting to see some of the offensive sets that we were watching them work on and shoot around, some of the different plays that they were cycling through. Hadn't been open to them in the first half, but you see that backdoor cut by McGurk for a nice finish. Some of these threes that they're creating, it's off of these system plays that have sprung open in this fourth quarter.
I mean, they've held Virginia completely scoreless so far in this fourth quarter. Fordham on a 10-0 run to start the fourth quarter. That's not something that I think we would have believed would possibly be possible when we're watching that first half. But the game changer so far has been implementing that full court press, and it's kind of hard to believe that they didn't turn to it sooner. But it's easy to say that now that they have, and it's worked so well, because it just feels like turnover after turnover after turnover. For Virginia, they've had an incredibly difficult time just getting an offensive play set up.
I mean, you think about, right, they went full court press against Miami and got it absolutely blown up in that first half. Just couldn't keep up with the athleticism of Miami, and I think maybe had similar fears going in against a UVA team that probably not as fast as Miami, but still very talented and still plenty of athleticism. We're talking about a very talented Power 5 after all, but no, this full court press and just the general pressure of the Fordham defense, I think, has seeped into even their half-court defense, where they're forcing turnovers in that end, and they're forcing contested looks. And I think that's something that Coach Mitchell wanted to see to start the game. Didn't get to see it, but at least you get to finish the game strong.
It's the first time they felt any sort of momentum this entire game, and against a team as talented as Virginia. I mean, let it not be confused. This is a team that almost beat LSU just a few weeks ago, only lost by 3 points against a national championship contending team. This is an incredible Virginia team, so Fordham being able to build momentum and see things work really well against Virginia is absolutely something positive that they can take away from this experience. I mean, there's still 4:42 left. They could eat into this lead even more.
I mean, we've got Santa Claus here, so I think anything can happen. He's throwing shirts around the building, and I'm kind of wondering what I have to do to get a shirt. Not that I want to necessarily rep UVA merch. I love Fordham. I bleed maroon, but
listen,
merch is merch.
I saw the subtle hand raise when Santa Claus came around.
He gave me a cold look and completely walked away. So I thought Santa Claus was supposed to be nice and giving, but I guess not. Maybe it's not down here in the South. Hate some of the Northerners, but we talk about this turnaround for Fordham and just the outlook of Fordham in general. I think important to note, still not fully healthy. They were still missing Amina Lee. She practiced for the first time in a non-contact jersey, but got her first practice, participated in shoot-arounds, and I think that's something as you look long-term, especially towards conference play, her return's going to be big for this team.
And I can't believe this is the first time we're talking about this.
It's been a wild game.
Listen, Amina Lee would absolutely be a game changer in this game, because Virginia is so good in the front court. They're two power forwards are some of the best in the country, and Amina Lee, undoubtedly, first the tallest player on Fordham, but also one of the most aggressive players in the paint.
UVA breaks the full court press. Clark on the near side finds Taylor left elbow extended, swings right. Kimora Johnson the layup, it's good. A career high, Kimora Johnson, the freshman, 18 points. Clark steals the lead pass from Fordham. 3-on-2, Kimora Johnson again, 20 points for the freshman. A 70-44 lead for UVA.
Kimora Johnson didn't even have to jog back on defense. She just stood under the basket for two quick sets of points, rather.
Davis, right wing, has an open three, pump fakes, drives the right lane, kicks out Flood, right wing three, banks it in. Oh, that one looked like it was going to be off, but got it off the right corner. 70-47, UVA leads. Clark pushing the pace the other way, gets the lefty layup to go with 3:50 left. 72-47, Amy Hayford in transition, goes up with the right, can't finish, but hacked, and she'll go to the line. Amy Hayford, someone who's no stranger to playing UVA, spent 4 years in the ACC with Pitt. It has not been a banner day for Hayford so far, but she gets a trip to the line.
Hayford, one of the many transfers brought into this Fordham team heading into this season, and I think something Coach Bridgette Mitchell really stressed is players who have played in big situations. Playing at Pitt, you play nothing but strong competition week after week after week, and Hayford brings exactly that, as you mentioned. This is not her first time playing Virginia.
Hayford sinks the first free throw. I mentioned earlier in this game, it's been a rough go for her. 1 for 6 from the field, but gets a perfect trip from the line as she buries the second. 72-49 Fordham, full court press in effect. Up ahead to Clark, far side, splitting the middle with Clarkson, shovels for Lawson, but getting in the way of that one is Donaldson. Ball trickles out of bounds and will stay here. They'll give it to Johnson for the baseline inbound. Lobs for Clarkson, handoff back to Johnson, backs out to the right wing. Uses a bump from Clark and holds at the logo. 15 seconds on the shot clock, 3:30 left in the game. Behind the back dribble, step back three, Johnson buries it. 23 points, and UVA ahead 75-49. McGurk pushing quickly, handoff right wing Donaldson, uses the Nelson screen. Back to McGurk, near corner, drives down to the block, throws up a shot, it's blocked by Johnson. Moving in transition, Smith all alone, goes up with the right, reverse lay is good.
I mean, look, that's just not what you want to see there for Fordham. Transition defense, just nobody getting back quick enough. There were about 2 Virginia players under the basket all alone. That's just hustle.
77-49, UVA leads. Donaldson, the righty drive, a beautiful move and a beautiful finish. 51 points for Fordham today. Break the press with Clark near side, meanders over top of the key. Now they reset Johnson right in front of the half-court line. 2:35 in taking on our fourth quarter. UVA ahead 77-51. Into the paint for Clarkson, spins around and called for the travel. Too many steps. Fordham forcing another turnover.
Kilda Flood coming up a little slow there, seems to have gotten elbowed right in the stomach. Holding that area after you played a full game, as many minutes as Matilda Flood has here, I'm sure that's the last thing you want.
30-plus minutes for Matilda Flood today. Amy Hayford, top of the key, dribbles left, kicks out, left wing three, Matilda Flood, it's good! Stomach must be fine, she buries the three. 77-54. Clark weaving through the paint, goes up with the left, it's short, nice contest by Rose Nelson. Flood crosses the timeline, clock ticks under 2 minutes. Flood stops in the paint, kicks out, right wing three, McGurk. Rolls out, rebound by Smith. Smith fumbles with it but recovers, crosses the timeline. And she'll slow things down, minute 50 to go. Hands off Johnson at the UVA logo. Johnson will go now, dribbles left, tosses into the paint for Clarkson, spins around, up with the left hand, easy lay. 79-54, the UVA lead, 1:30 to go. McGurk, top of the key, uses a Flood screen, shovels for Hayford. Knocked away by Clark, but recovers. 15 on the shot clock. Hayford, the straight on three, air ball. Flood tries to keep it in, but can't. Nyborg checks in. Matilda Flood's day seems to be done. Ends there with 14 points in 32 minutes played. UVA breaks the press again. Lawson into the paint for Clarkson. Nearly stolen away by Nelson, but Lawson recovers. Cross-court pass. Had some heat on it. Clarkson fired it into the corner for Clark and couldn't come up with it.
Just another turnover for Virginia. They've played some really undisciplined basketball throughout this entire half. They are lucky they were hitting from three as much as they were.
McGurk, free throw line drive, spin around two, rolls in. Manny McGurk up to 12 points today. Clock ticks under 54 seconds. 79-56, the UVA lead, 23 points. Johnson controls top of the key. She'll let the clock tick down. 40 seconds. Shot clock's at 15. Over to the far side, guarded by Hayford. Shot clock down to 10. Top of the key. Johnson dribbles behind the back. 5 seconds. Step back three. Rolls in. 26 points for Kamora Johnson. Having an absolute day. Shot clock is off. 25 seconds left in this ball game. UVA ahead 82-56. McGurk drives. The floater from the corner, no good. Rebound by Lawson. UVA can hold till the buzzer. Led by a career-high 26-point performance from Kamora Johnson, the 5-star recruit, and their highest recruit in the Amaka Agugwa Hamilton era. UVA defeats Fordham 82-56, and despite some life in the second half in a 22-point fourth quarter for Fordham, they fall by big margin to another ACC opponent.
Listen, they finished out this game strong. That's all you can ask for when you're down about 30 points at the half. A lot of things to take away from this game, both positive and negative. Starting with the negative, you just have to shoot better. We say it after almost every single game, besides maybe the last 2 or 3, but you're not going to win very many basketball games, especially against opponents that have, a lot of talent to combat that with shots of their own. You just have to shoot better. 20 for 64, shooting 31% in this game, and that's with the run that they had in that fourth quarter. Before that, it was even less, of course, but if you can just find higher quality looks, it's not even a talent thing. You don't even have to think, oh, we just need to shoot better. You need to find better looks. You need to find open looks. You need to set more screens, more off-ball movement. We saw flashes of it with Mandy McGurk, off-ball cutting towards the basket for the open layup. Those are the kind of things you want to see more from this Fordham team. But going to the positives, the full court press was an absolute hit on the court for that fourth quarter. Oh my goodness. If that's something that they can continue to implement against teams that have less talent as we move into A-10 play, that's going to be huge for this team moving forward.
Do you think you have concerns about their half-court defense, especially that zone that they came in planning to play against UVA? Didn't work. They were trying to force contested threes, and instead they let Virginia take a lot of open threes, and that resulted in 12 threes made by UVA, 10 of them coming in the first half. They really stopped shooting those threes in the second half, but they could have continued to pour it on. So I think Fordham, especially in the half court, closing on the perimeter, should be something they're going to need to work on for conference play.
I mean, it's hard to judge the level of concern from that because Virginia is such a good team. This is an ACC opponent, so that zone might work really well against an A-10 team. You never really know, so it's hard to truly gauge where it should be, but it definitely isn't positive. It's not an optimistic sign for the zone.
On the offensive side, an upgrade from their last battle with an ACC opponent. They put up 39 against Miami. They put up 56 against UVA. It's Donaldson and Flood leading the way, and Donaldson really, I think, was the spark plug on both sides. Got some steals in that press and then buried a couple threes, 4 for 11 from deep. But how about Matilda Flood? Ends up going 3 for 6 from beyond the arc, ends the day with 14 points. Those are the really two catalysts in the offense alongside 12 for McGurk.
I mean, this was a get-back half for Matilda Flood. Started out the game really rough, just as she has been the past 3 or 4 games, but she has the ability to make those threes. That's what makes her such a versatile player. She's good from beyond the arc, but she can also drive in. She's like that 3-4 kind of player who can play guard or forward, and that's what makes her so valuable on this team when her shot is right, which it hasn't been for the past few games. We've seen it tonight, and especially in that second half. When she's on her game, she can really be a spark plug for this team.
December, a weird month for Fordham women's basketball. They're coming off a 10-day break between their Fairfield loss and this game against UVA. They'll have 8 days off in between the start of conference play. December 30th, they take on St. Joe's. And if you thought that the schedule leading into conference play was tough, well, the first game of conference play is tough. St. Joe's won today, so now they're now 11-1 in their non-conference schedule. And that, coming into the year, we're shaping up to be one of the best teams in the A10, have that really talented young core, and they've balled out so far this season. So for Fordham, it'll be their second A10 battle, and it's not going to be an easy one.
I mean, this is a team that's going to make no excuses for themselves moving forward. They're going to plunge right into the A10, and they're going to get the full taste of what 2023-24 A10 play is like, because this is a conference that has improved so much year to year to year. We talk about the continuity that this conference has as a whole, and that's just not something Fordham has just factually. That's not something you can orchestrate in 1 year. So that's going to be something they're coming from behind game after game after game, because this is a conference that is so good this year. A lot of teams ranked in the top 50, top 100, and that's not something that we've seen in years past. So Fordham going to get the full taste of A10 play right from the jump, and I'm sure that's going to end up benefiting them more than anything. Are they going to win this game? That is to be determined, but win or lose, I think it's better to start with the best of the best just to get a feel for how the rest of this tournament or the rest of this season is going to go in the Atlantic 10.
Well, we'll wrap up here from Charlottesville, Virginia. Fordham, in their non-conference finale, falls to Virginia 82-56. The Fordham Rams fall to 5-7. And when we rejoin you next, that will be December 30th, a battle against St. Joe's. I'll be on the call alongside Chad McAdams. Until then, stay tuned. But for myself and Julia Moss, this has been a production of Fordham Women's Basketball. Now let's send it back to the Rhodes Studios with Ben Oppenheimer and Merrick Rhodes.
The one-on-one post-game report.
Welcome to the one-on-one post-game report. I'm Ben Oppenheimer, along with my co-host Merrick Rhodes. Before we get into an analysis of what happened tonight, let's send it over to Merrick for a scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Taking a look at the scores from around the top 25 in NCAA women's basketball, Iowa is a couple seconds away from closing out the victory over Loyola Chicago by a score of 96-69. Caitlin Clark notches her 13th career triple-double with 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. South Dakota State currently trails number 21 Creighton 23-29 at the half. Notre Dame closed out their victory over Western Michigan by a final of 84-47 in South Bend. Earlier today, number 18 Marquette improved to 12-0 on the season after an easy 28-point victory over Bucknell by a final of 67-39 at home. In Boulder, the Buffs were able to come out on top, defeating Northern Colorado by a final of 78-56. And it was never close in a matchup between number 11 Utah and Weber State. The Utes walk away with an 89-36 win in Salt Lake City. Virginia Tech diminished any hopes that William & Mary had of an upset, with the 15th-ranked Hokies defeating the Tribe, winning by a score of 76-43. In the West Palm Beach Classic, number 10 Baylor was victorious in their matchup against South Florida, 73-50. The Bears are now a perfect 11-0 on the season. Number 2 UCLA walked away with their 6th win at Pauley Pavilion and 11th overall win when they defeated Hawaii 85-46. They also remain undefeated. The number 6 Trojans of USC were able to hold on to their lead in the matchup with Long Beach State, winning by a final of 85-77. Mackenzie Forbes finishes with a career-high 36 points. With the one-on-one scoreboard, I'm Merrick Rhodes.
So I want to say that overall tonight, it was like 50 Cent's second album. It was The Massacre overall.
Yeah.
But I will say that, I also want to spread Christmas spirit and cheer, and I'm wearing my Nick Santa hat right now. I don't want to get mad right now, so I'm going to stay calm, and we're also going to analyze the good things that we saw from tonight's game. Matilda Flood, 14 points in 32 minutes, 5 for 11 from the field overall, 3 for 6 from 3. Those are solid numbers. And then in regards to steals, Fordham had 12 to Virginia's 9. I think especially in the fourth quarter there, Fordham woke up on the defensive end. If only they showed that kind of cohesion on that end for the whole game, that would have been, I think things would have been very different if that was the case. And then Fordham shot a good percentage from the free throw line at 83%, making 5 of 6 shots. And also, interesting enough, is Fordham did force Virginia to make 19 turnovers, which is around their season average of 20 forced turnovers per game. And then they finished the game strong, outscoring Virginia 22-6. They shot 8 for 14 from the field in the fourth and 4 for 8 from 3 for Fordham. And those are good signs that they woke up, and even if obviously they knew it was definitely not going to be a win and they didn't really have a fighting chance, but they wanted to finish the game strong, which I think Fordham students and fans of Fordham women's basketball, they can appreciate that. They can appreciate that effort. And so you see that those are the good things. That's the good side. On the bad side, you had Virginia outscoring Fordham overall in the whole game, 38-18 for points in the paint. 36-12 in fast break points for Virginia. That you can't win a game like that if you're Fordham. And you just look at overall the statistics, 31% from the field, 37% from 3, which is actually not even that bad. That's above average, but you can't do that while allowing Virginia to shoot 55% from the three-point line when their average is 25%, Merrick. So it's what else did you see that they need to work on, the flaws and the mistakes from this game? What do they need to work on to adjust heading into A-10 play?
I think that turnovers are your number one. Obviously, you no easier way in basketball to shoot yourself in the foot than turning the ball over a bunch. Obviously, 20 turnovers, it seems like that's kind of what they're on par for. But I think the shooting is really what gives me some worries, because you look at the second half. In the second half, they shot 32% from the field, 33% from 3. I mean, the first half really wasn't much better. I mean, they were shooting better from 3 in the first half, but I mean, it's really unfortunate when you can't really make an adjustment against a team who really I think what I think is my biggest worry coming out of this game is that they were in a unique position where they were facing, a team that is better than them, being a Power 5 school going up against a mid-major. I think the disappointing part is that Wofford kind of laid the groundwork for a way to beat this Virginia team, and I think Fordham failed in every aspect in that department. I mean, 36% from 3. I believe that's above their season average from the three-point line for Fordham. They're shooting 31%, so right around there, a little bit above what they're expected to do. But I think the fouls, I think they did a terrible job drawing fouls. I think they only shot 6 free throws, which is not really going to help you out too much in the long run when you're losing by almost 30 points. I think the fourth quarter was a bit optimistic. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit different when you're down by that much. The other team might have let up a little bit on the competitive edge, but it's good to see Fordham stick to it and be competitive. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of pieces like Julia and Lou were saying that came together, whether transfers or new additions, and I think it's to the point where you question if it's the team still needs to mesh, or if they need to make adjustments or something like that, change the way they go about going into these games. But I think really the shooting and the lack of drawing fouls, and Bridgette Mitchell mentioned in the coach's sound before the game that she was very positive about the team coming off rest. She said they had 3 days rest around finals. And I think one of the things that worried me is, yes, obviously rest is great, but this Virginia team is just so deep, and I believe so much deeper than this Fordham team. I mean, you look at Johnson with 26 points, a career high. You have 15 points out of Paris Clark, 10 points out of Taylor. I mean, and the bench, you got 9 points, 6 points off the bench. People getting 26 minutes off the bench. That's just depth that Fordham doesn't really have at this point, and with the unit that they have, they don't really have the ability to employ that. So I think they were definitely at a disadvantage in this game, but I think they missed out on kind of capitalizing on some of the weaknesses of Virginia.
Absolutely. I think if you're Coach Mitchell, you want to see a better shooting performance from Taylor Donaldson, from McGurk, 5 for 19, 5 for 14 from the field, respectively. That's not going to cut it in conference play.
Need more from Amy Hayford, too. 1 for 7 from the field. She's your second leading scorer, finishes the night with 4 points. Obviously had some foul trouble, but you want her to be playing more than 18 minutes.
Yeah, and I think Virginia did an excellent job in shutting the main contributors that Fordham has, like Hayford. Virginia shut them down. Now, as I said, Flood did come alive later in the game. But it's just too little too late, as many people like to say. And Johnson on UVA, just absolutely 26 points, 10 for 13 from the field, 6 for 7 from deep, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, only 1 turnover in 35 minutes. That's a great stat line. That you couldn't ask for more if you're Virginia's head coach. And then Clark had a solid game, 15 points, 6 for 10, made a 3, 2 for 2 from the line, 4 assists. You know, I think this is a performance. Obviously, Johnson was the spotlight, but this is a group effort from Virginia, and they're just a well-oiled machine, and they play in the ACC. That's what it really is that this is an ACC team versus an A10 team, and it's just that the talent gap is apparent, and that's just what it is. That's not a knock against Fordham. They certainly, tried to claw back in the fourth quarter and at some points in the second quarter, but really it's just not enough. And the shooting, they have to get back in the gym over break and work on that and see, pick up the pieces and see where they can go. I want to ask you, Merrick, what's your prediction for opening night? Do you think that Fordham has a shot against St. Joseph's December 30th? What's your prediction for that game?
I would love to see Fordham go out there and compete. Do I think they're going to win? Probably not, due to the fact that this St. Joe's team is 11-1 right now, and their one loss this year is to a number 11 ranked Utah squad, which they did lose by a decent amount, but as I was mentioning before, I mean, Utah took care of business today against Weber State, winning by like 56 points. So it seems like Utah is just one of those teams. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Fordham. I mean, I think the biggest problem was, and we saw it tonight, was being able to stop teams who can put up a lot of points, and that's what St. Joe's is. I mean, putting up at least 60 a night, and I mean, I don't really know exactly how the team shooting is, but let's take a look really quick. Yeah, 43%, 79 from free throw line, 35% from three. Could pose a problem for this Fordham squad, who seem to have a really tough time stopping the shooting tonight. I mean, you look at this Virginia team over the last 5 games, their highest 3-point percentage was 29%. Tonight they shot over 50%, I think it was, by the end of the night.
That's unacceptable.
That's just something something that you just can't have happen.
Yeah.
A team that's high over the last game against Wofford, they shot 17% from 3.
Yeah.
And then tonight you let them shoot 55% and 53% from the field. That's just unacceptable from a team who is not a great shooting team. And then you have St. Joe's coming to town, who is a good shooting team. I mean,
right. If they struggled like this against Virginia, who struggles from deep, how are they going to do against St. Joe's, who makes threes at a high clip, at a high percentage? So they've got to make some adjustments heading into conference play. 17 games in the A10 coming up, Merrick. Do you think that despite St. Joe's coming up and the battle that's going to be, do you think that this Fordham team has a shot to go 500 or maybe a game under 500 in this conference play?
I think that's your goal if you're Fordham, just based off the fact that you look at the squad and you look at the way they're built. They're built on a lot of transfers and a lot of new faces on the team. And whenever in any sport, any level, I think that's always just something that's naturally going to be difficult. So it really is going to test the group and test their ability, because if you have the right group and you have all new faces, it can still come together and work. It might take some time to kind of get into the groove of things, but I mean, they're pretty far into the season at this point. I mean, that was their 15th game of the year, around there, somewhere around there. Yeah. And I mean, by that point, you would like to see a little bit more cohesion, but I think the A10 tournament, or not the tournament, but the schedule rather, is going to show a lot about the team's ability to come together in a tough time, losing their 5th straight game now in this fashion. I think it's going to be tough for them. I think that should be where your goal is at, and anything above that would be a huge success, because there are some really, really good ball clubs in the A10. I mean, you look at the top. There's 3 teams in the conference with 1 loss this year in St. Joe's, VCU, and Davidson. A couple 2-loss teams, a 3-loss team. It's going to be competitive, as the A10 normally is in any sport. And I just think it's going to be tough for this Fordham team, especially coming off this brutal stretch of not only you go through the close games that you keep just somehow not being able to come out on top, and then of course this blowout does not help. Yeah. So it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, 5 in a row to close out non-conference play is not what they were looking for as a program. And I think the one key stat for tonight that is a microcosm of the game is just 55% from three for Virginia.
Yeah.
For a team that shoots 25% from three. That's it. That's the game. That's the game right there. You can wrap it up, and they're just going to have to move on and, don't let it linger in their heads, this type of loss, even though it's
brush
a blowout.
it off.
Yeah, brush it off and get back and just live to fight another day, so to speak.
Hopefully, coming back to Rose Hill can rejuice up this team, get them some home cooking, maybe get the ball rolling.
Absolutely, lot of big challenges coming up for this Fordham women's basketball team, and we'll see if they rise to those challenges. But right now, they're really struggling, and they've been through a rough patch in their schedule, and we'll just have to see how they'll pick up the pieces from here. But that'll about do it for this post-game report. Thanks to Lou Orlando and Julia Moss, who were our play-by-play and color commentators for tonight's game. Back in the studio, we had Ralph Barbieri producing and Grace McCarron providing highlights. A special thanks to Bobby Chaffardini, the sports director of WFUV, for making this all possible. For Merrick, Rhodes, and Ben Oppenheimer, thank you for tuning in to Fordham Women's Basketball on WFUV Sports, and wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Have a good night, everyone.